Zongman, Danmachi, 3 skills at the beginning. Chapter 1. This is the scene of another world, it really makes people's hearts surge. Standing on a slope, with one hand on his forehead and looking at the magical city at the end of his vision, the blond young man's mouth was raised with joy, and his eyes were filled with some kind of emotion. Or excitement, longing, and even the joy of getting your wish come true when you were young. At the end of the green wilderness, the city that came into view was surrounded by huge walls, and the boundaries on both sides could not even be seen at a glance. The majestic chalk tower stands in its center, and the strange sense of existence impacts the young man's heart, and he can't help but sigh in admiration. The end of the western end of the continent, the center of the world, has the only blessing from the world, the labyrinth city Orari. It's amazing. Ha ha ha, little brother. My ears are numb from your praise. Everyone who sees this city for the first time will say the same thing as you. Standing beside the blond young man, a middle-aged man in linen, a wide hat, and carrying a large package laughed and teased loudly. Ah! The young man who was a little embarrassed by his childish behavior like a country bumpkin entered the city, touched his nose embarrassingly, and then asked curiously. That, uncle. You said there are many people like me. The uncle raised his eyebrows and looked at the young man. Under the black cloak, he wore a set of underwear of the same color, and a belt bag made of some kind of inferior leather. The boots on both feet were covered with mud and weeds, his face was dusty, and there was a package behind him. Tisk, young man. Listen to my uncle's advice. Although adventurers can gain fame, wealth, and power, this is a life-threatening job. If you are not careful, you will. The elder's earnest remonstrance made the young man scratch his head in embarrassment. Thank you for your reminder. But since I came to this city, if I don't become an adventurer, wouldn't it be in vain? And goblins, beast-ear girls, magic and so on, even monkeys will know if they see these things. Are you excited? Hey, little brother. You understand it very well. After the words fell, both the middle-aged uncle and the young brother showed meaningful smiles. Since this is the case, then I wish you great success and prosperous martial arts. Haha, thank you for your blessing. The two people who had never met before chatted for a few words like this, and then waved their hands to part. By the way, my name is Flan Algon. The middle-aged uncle didn't look back, but just waved his hand. Looking into the distance, facing the clear sky of dark clouds, the fragrance of grass plants is blowing across the face with the gentle wind, and the young man is smiling. The labyrinth city, the north gate of Orario. Flan's full curiosity has not yet entered this huge city, and it is ready to move. Standing in the long line on the suspension bridge in front of the city gate made of huge bricks, he observed with strange eyes that the people entering the city ahead were checked one by one in black uniforms. I saw that those people used a strange magic stone lamp to shine on everyone's back, and only after checking that there was no problem, they would be released. Some people took out something similar to a passport and directly passed the inspection. This set of processes has somewhat of a sense of déjà vu that gives Flan the illusion of time and space. The staff moved very quickly, and it was his turn within a minute. The young Asian who was in charge of the security check took a look at his blonde hair and golden pupils, with a somewhat surprised expression. Is this your first visit to Olali? Can you tell at a glance? The subdued demahuman pushed his glasses and explained with a professional smile. After all, hundreds of thousands of people are tested every day. This is the so-called experience. Flan was confused for a moment. How could he agree with that uncle's words? It is also possible that the orcs among the demahumans are naturally sensitive to the 5 senses. After all, this is a labyrinth city. It's only natural that people with all kinds of fantasies gather here, right? It seems to be right. Here, back. Flan understood, and imitated the way others did by baring his back for inspection. Well, I want to ask. Does this check have any special meaning? It's nothing secret. After all, it's Olali. There are always troubles in the center of the world, such as spies from other countries' families, smuggling, etc. You know what I mean. As a time traveler, Flan understands it instantly. Combined with the actions of the staff, I immediately thought of something. God's grace, the only blessing that the descended gods can bring to the next generation of people. The function of this magic tool should respond to grace. Is it something like scanning a QR code? It looks so advanced. After taking a casual photo, the orc youth signaled him to leave after the inspection. While arranging his clothes, Flan asked, "Well, if you want to become an adventurer, should you go to the management organization union level first, or? Of course, you can only register after finding a god to become its family member and gain favor. Otherwise, you can imagine the scene of fighting monsters without grace." Realizing how idiotic his question was, Flan cursed himself. But he still expressed his gratitude with a smile on his face. By the way, if you want to become an adventurer, choosing a god is the most important thing. How should I put it? The gods actually have various personalities just like us, and this kind of ministry will not help you. It's all about luck. To the Demahuman's kind reminder, Flan nodded, expressing his understanding. The laws of thousands of years have led people to conclude a very metaphysical law, that is, the main god of the first family to join is basically somewhat similar to himself, especially his personality. The stand-in messengers are attracted to each other, which is probably the case. Thank you for your advice, thanks again. Haha, it's your duty. I wish you a happy life in Orario. Saying goodbye to the enthusiastic trade union staff, he finally got his wish and walked into the labyrinth city known as the center of the world, Olali. I saw a bustling street that runs straight through the square and is neatly paved with white stone slabs. Even if 4 carriages drive side by side, it doesn't look crowded. Many shops are lined up next to the wide street. Centered on the majestic chalk tower in the depths of the field of vision, the prosperous labyrinth city displays its prosperity and bustle with a strange style. Even though the combined age of the 2 lifetimes is no longer young, Flan's fiery heart still drives him to hope. On the road, Demahumans dressed in all kinds of adventurer equipment, some wore full body armor, swords around their waists, and some wore cloaks and carried bows and arrows on their backs. There are also strong and bold dwarves, all kinds of orcs wagging their tails, and small people with serious expressions and a little humbleness. At this moment, for Flan Algon, he has the sense of reality of coming to another world. Fairy girls, girls with beast ears, are you ready? Ha 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 ha. Faced with the strange eyes of passers-by shooting at him, Flan, who was already excited, didn't know where to throw it, and laughed loudly with his arms open. Regardless of the strange gaze, Flan was so excited that he couldn't help himself. Every building, every passerby, and every scene in this city made him feel fresh, and the hustle and bustle of the crowd had an incredible power, which made his mood transparent and his whole body comfortable. Well, there is a sense of surprise when I got a new toy when I was a child. Tightening the pack on his back, Flan followed the crowd down the street with excitement on his face. This avenue that runs through the north gate to the giant chalk tower, Babel Tower, has a very apt name, North Street. According to the information in the memory of the previous life, there are a total of 8 such streets in the whole city, which correspond to a certain direction. The 8 avenues neatly divide the circular city into 8 areas like cutting a cake, and now Flan is in the northern part of the city. While walking, he took out a precious parchment book from his pocket made of poor quality leather, and turned to a certain page to review the plan he had already made. First of all, you should find a hotel to stay in, and then inquire about the news of the family's residence. Yes, since Flan is a time traveler, he will definitely choose the family that will help him the most. In one's own limited information, choosing the best option is actually a manifestation of cheating. With such a favor, how can I not use it? As for the target to join, after careful elimination, there is also a target. The protagonist in the story, family of Hestia, not to mention his strength, but Belcrinel's virginal character and Hestia's love for him, Flan felt that he couldn't handle it. And what he did to that boy was completely contrary to Flan's plan, which wanted to develop insignificantly. After all, he didn't have the aura of a protagonist, and the high-risk place in the dungeon was still flying, which was completely courting death, so he was the first to pass. Freya Familia, the most powerful faction of Olali, owns the strongest man in the city, LV.7 Fierce Oda, ridiculously strong. Well, the atmosphere in the faction is not very friendly. The headquarters of Battle Wilderness, located in the southwest of the city, is really working hard to get the favor of the goddess every day. In addition, because of the past experience, these members are extremely lacking in love, and the goddess has become the only one. The pillar of the soul is really all the staff licking the dog. If you can't stand it, you can't stand it, pass. Ye Sita families, all Amazon tigresses, there are dozens of fighting whores at level LV.3, not to mention that they can earn a lot of money by conquering dungeons. The key point is that they also have side jobs. Joy Street in the southeast area of Olari, that is their territory. The revenue generated every night accounts for as much as 40% of the entire festival. A veritable, grey overlord. In fact, LSP Flan really wanted to join, but when he thought about the big toad of the family leader, he left directly. He faithed Tosi families, the strongest forging faction, local tyrants. The main god's character is also very perfect, and has the forging skills to reach the god's realm. Families are not short of money. Any magic sword starts with $1 million, and the high-end ones cost tens of millions, not to mention that the first-level weapon sells for hundreds of millions of mana. The strength is not bad. There are dozens of blacksmiths with a minimum level of LV.3, and the team leader is a veteran powerhouse among the first-level adventurers, the Cyclops, of level 5. This was originally the family that Flan wanted to join the most, but as a magic fanatic, he had to reluctantly give up. Ganesha families, 11 LV.5 big factions, have the power to enforce the law in the city, and basically wear the same trousers as the union executives. As the god of the masses, God Ganesha is a very reliable god, but again, what Flan yearns for is magic. Therefore, the Loki Familia, who has the strongest magician in the city, is the best choice. Of course the benefits don't stop there. Loki's Familia is very united and has roughly 50-50 combat power with Freya's Familia, but the atmosphere is not as tense as that one. The entire family is like a big family, and the main god has the feeling of a parent, watching silently behind the children to pursue their ambitions and dreams. And even an otaku like Flan doesn't feel uncomfortable. And the senior management is very concerned about the cultivation of newcomers and juniors, which is very suitable for the current situation. In addition, the exploration of the dungeon is also quite active, which is what he cares most about. Shaking his head, he looked up at the signboards of the back streets and alleys extending from the avenue. After one of the signboards, Golden Wheat Ear Hotel, Flan turned in. Although old but well maintained, the front yard shows the responsible attitude of the owner. Such a hotel, even if you haven't entered the door, can make people feel good, and Flan is no exception. Pushing open the wooden door of the hotel, I greeted the elf boss who was writing something behind the wooden bar. Boss, stay at the store. Hearing the greeting, the middle-aged goblin with a well-groomed, staid look raised his head and glanced at Flan, and then said in the stubborn tone unique to their race. 900 fares per night, how long do you want to stay? Well, good night. Handing over the few gold coins on his body, the corner of Flan's mouth twitched. The topic of money cannot be avoided in any world, and when he touched his empty wallet, he felt a headache. Your key, the innermost room on the 3rd floor, don't lose it. I'm sorry to trouble you. Nothing. I wanted to put the luggage in the room first and then go out to inquire about the news. When Flan suddenly thought of something, he raised his eyes and asked softly. Well, boss. Do you know any taverns nearby? Well, the ones you want to ask for information. The man with the same expression seems to be accustomed to this kind of question, and without raising his head, he pointed to the southwest direction. 5th District, Flameby Pavilion. Thanks. Stepping on the creaking wooden stairs, I came to the 3rd floor to find my room. Opening the door with the key, Flan gave it a random sweep. Very clean, sure enough. After closing the door, he walked into the small space that was temporarily his own, and after putting the package on the only chair, Flan lay on his back on the bed, put his hands behind his head and exhaled deeply. The 10-day trip made Shendu extremely exhausted both physically and mentally, not to mention the first few days of crossing over, in order to inquire about the news and confirm that the information had been saved by the occasional monster claws, which made him exhausted. Now that I finally have a safe place to live, my heart that has been beating non-stop since I walked into the city has gradually cooled down. Flameby Pavilion Tavern, it sounds familiar. Forget it, don't think about it, just take a rest and take a look. Closing his eyes, Flan, who wanted to take a short nap before taking action, unknowingly fell asleep until the sun was setting and the moon was in the sky. Staring blankly at the unique night view of the labyrinth city dotted with bustling magic stone lamps and the sky shrouded in black veil, Flan smiled wryly. Are you too tired to sleep for so long? After wiping his face casually, re-drying his boots, and tidying up his clothes, Flan put on his cloak and set off for his destination in the 5th district. O'Leary at night is even more lively than during the day. The adventurers who came back from the dungeon wanted to have a drink, and the merchants who wanted to get treasured magic stone craft products and the main gods they entertained. Blacksmiths, pharmacists, healers, bards and whores. On this noisy and lively night, the unique atmosphere of the city brewed by the professions surrounding the dungeon made Flan completely immersed in this fascinating noise middle. Is it here? This is the bustling streets and alleys of the South District. This back street has signboards of taverns. Flan is now standing in front of the shop with the bright red B signboard similar to the family badge. Next to the signboard of Flame B Pavilion Tavern, there is a warning board, on which it is written in red ink that drinking madness is prohibited. Flan rolled his eyes at this as if he didn't see it. As an adventurer, isn't it commonplace to fight in taverns? It is said that the boss is trying to blackmail, it must be so. Nodding self-righteously, he stretched out his hand from inside the cloak, pushed the door open and walked in. Wow! Suddenly, a lively atmosphere like the sound of bees flying in a honeycomb rushed over, making Flan experience the noise of a tavern in another world for the first time. In the tavern, the noisy orcs stepped on the chairs and scolded each other non-stop, and there were booing human adventurers sitting in the mansion and watching the show with a smile. The bold dwarves held wooden wine cups that were bigger than fists and fought with others one after another. Their faces were flushed and they hiccuped and refused to admit defeat. Sitting at the bar, a goblin in a cloak drank clear wheat wine, watching with a sullen face and cold eyes. Everything tells Flan that this is a tavern in a different world, a real different world. Grinning, he walked to the row of high stools in front of the bar, found a seat and sat down. Boss, let's drink your signature. Facing the new guests, he swiftly offered a glass of bright red glossy mead and put it heavily in front of him with a boom, and the laughing dwarf boss with a trembling beard greeted loudly. First time. Picking up the glass and taking a sip of the signature mead, which is said to be quite strong, Flan nodded. Yeah, it's my first time here. Not to mention, the wine here not only has a strong cyanotic taste, but also has a kind of sweet stream woven in it, which makes people have endless aftertaste. The bearded dwarf picked up the unfinished cup in his hand and continued his previous work, while chatting with him who was clearly a newcomer. Hey, my tavern has a good reputation among adventurers, you are lucky. Flan pretended to be shy and smiled, and praised the boss's words. It's very delicious, and the owner's craftsmanship is great. Nowadays, adventurers who can talk like this are rare. If those fools who make trouble with me every day are half as sweet as you, tell me what you want to know. Should he be called the tavern owner? These old fritters who have been around for a long time are all good people. After complaining a few words in his heart, he put down his wine glass and approached the boss slightly, asking in a low voice. It's not a big deal, I just want to inquire about the location of the Loki Familia. The dwarf boss stopped what he was doing, looked at him with a little surprise, and smiled with his ragged teeth. Could it be possible for you, kid? There is no family yet. Speaking of which, it is indeed very good, in various senses. But, the requirements for joining the group are very strict. After all, it is Loki's family, do you have confidence in yourself? Hearing this, Flan smiled silently. He is a despicable outsider, so naturally he has a whole card. Glancing at his unmoved expression, the dwarf boss shook his head. Well, it's a good thing for young people to have self-confidence. Anyway, it's no secret. Their residence is at the northernmost end of the North District. Walking from North Avenue to the 8th District, the most conspicuous building is there. Flan raised an eyebrow, a little surprised. As if he knew what he wanted to ask, the boss let out a disdainful, hey. That's the Loki Familia, who would trouble them if they have nothing to do. Is it too impatient? Even if most of the family members were away during the expedition, not everyone can provoke them. Thank God if they don't trouble others, that's right. That's one of the two strongest families in King's Landing Orario. Flan suddenly realized when he heard the words, yes. Who will make themselves uncomfortable? The dependent family is a big family, and most people will revenge wildly if they want to avenge their relatives. He drank the remaining mead in one gulp, thinking about going back to rest early, and he had already heard the accurate information, and there was no reason to drink here, so he was about to leave. But before he got up, the wooden door of the tavern was kicked to pieces by violent force with a bang, and sawdust splashed everywhere came with a sharp sound of scraping and tearing the air. Flan quickly crouched on the ground with his head in his arms, hiding the beginning of this chaos. Maureen, you fooling dare to drink here. You have never borrowed money from me and never paid it back. You are the first. Fool lighter, who is afraid of whom? It's your honor to ask you to borrow money. I'm a senior adventurer, are you afraid that I won't pay you some money? I'll take care of you. It's only natural to pay off debts. Call me. In the next second, the real daily life of the tavern began. Flan, who was squatting in the corner and taking a peek, looked at the flying wine glasses and plates, the brave monster-like senior adventurers, and the melon eaters who were holding wine glasses and booing. His scalp was numb. Then he finally understood the setting of what an adventurer is if he doesn't make trouble in a tavern. Escaping from the chaotic vortex without any risk, Flan heaved a sigh of relief in the dark back alley decorated only with a few magic stone lamps. Your sister, this is too messy. No, I have to join the family quickly. I have had enough of this state of powerlessness. Rubbing the accidentally injured arm, he gasped. These fools, hiss. Don't be met by me after I become stronger, I will smash your head. He limped into the darkness, and returned to the hotel where he was staying in a slightly comical way. Lying on the bed, facing the cold moonlight, Flan didn't know what he imagined, and fell asleep with a smile on his mouth. Like the veil of the Lady of the Night, darkness caressed the majestic city until orange flames rose on the east side of the city walls. Because he was too excited, a certain young man with dark circles under his eyes packed his luggage and rushed out. As for breakfast, is it important to have such a thing as joining a family? Besides, as long as you join the family, you can have breakfast for nothing. Concealed in his heart, Flan went to the base camp of the Loki Familia, the Twilight Pavilion, dressed in yesterday's outfit. Oh, the kids are all going on an expedition, we are so boring. Can't we have some fun? And those boring gods, who know how to play some low-level fun every day, have been the same for hundreds of millions of years. A certain god squinted his eyes, and complained while wandering in the park in front of his house board. A head of red hair that looks like the setting sun is tied neatly behind her head. She is wearing a white shirt with 6/4 sleeves, black cropped trousers, and brown strappy wedge sandals. Her slender figure contrasts with those plump goddesses. It seems, a little, humble. But no one in the entire Olili, including the entire heaven, dared to underestimate this god. The number one troublemaker in the heavens, the murderous god who once planned to let the gods kill each other, Loki. Alas! A certain god who was bored, seemed to have discovered something strange, opened his squinted eyes slightly, and smiled evilly. The child who went to our Twilight Pavilion has no favors on him, so he came to join our family. Ha 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 ha, finally don't be bored. When the words fell, there were only a few fresh fallen leaves left in place, but the person had already disappeared. Flan, who was carrying the package, stopped suddenly, shivering suddenly. What's with this ominous feeling? Confused, he wiped away the non-existent cold sweat, pursed his lips and looked up at the only building standing in front of him, ready to move forward again. Yo, newcomer. Are you here to join our family? Are all gods so elusive? Flan looked dumbfounded at the red-haired goddess standing in front of him with a stiff face. Tisk tisk tisk, is it human, or is it blonde hair and golden eyes? He looks so handsome, and has an aura that we have never seen before. Although we don't have the ability to see through the soul of the nympho goddess, but, it's decided, he is already a child of our family. Hey, is it really okay to make such an arbitrary decision? Regardless of the bewildered blonde youth, the god named Loki dragged Flan, who was already in chaos, back directly to the Twilight Pavilion. The two passed by the courtyard covered with red bricks, and the remaining family members all cast curious glances at Flan. A group of family members popped up out of nowhere, surrounded Loki and him in the blink of an eye, staring at him like curious babies. When had Flan seen this kind of battle in his 2 lifetimes combined? This feeling of being focused made his hairs stand on end, his expression awkward and a little nervous, which was not as calm as when he was in a tavern. Okay, okay. When we finish the ceremony, everyone is welcoming you. Ha ha ha, what the Lord God said is true. Then I will notify the kitchen first. Okay. Let's have a banquet tonight and have a big drink. Oh yeah 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 yeah. You're just looking for an excuse to have a big drink, right? The keen Flan suddenly discovered the truth of the matter. By the time he was able to think again, he had followed Loki to her divine room, and he didn't know how he got there all the way. Is this the god? Behavior or something cannot be judged by the thinking of creatures from the lower world. Okay, take your shirt off. Let's get started. Now that we're here, what's there to hesitate about? Flan took off his cloak and shirt without hesitation, and turned his back on his future god. Once the ceremony is held, you are a member of our family, that is, a family member. Do you understand what this means? Contracts are sacred, even for detached gods. No one can break the contract that has been made, because it is absolute. Flan, who has been in this world for a long time, of course understands all this. Yes, I would like to be your family. Loki stared at Flan with red eyes that matched his bright red hair, then smiled. Then, I'm going to start the ceremony. Loki pierced his finger with a needle and bestowed God's favor behind Flan's back with the blood of God. Speaking of grace, you know the basics, right? Flan answered honestly. Well, I heard a lot on the way to Olali. I only know that the ability value ranges from I0 to S999. If one of the values exceeds D500, it seems that it can be upgraded. Loki gave Flan popular science while writing the words, sacred words, written by the gods. The essence of God's grace is just a catalyst. A catalyst for the development of the possibilities of the children of the lower world. And the value produced by systematically parameterizing the favor is called the ability value. It includes basic abilities, developmental abilities, magic, and skills, and the level indicates the overall level of strength. Ability value, after all, is the result of long-term verification and analysis of us gods who have come down for thousands of years. However, the children in the lower realm have possibilities that even Shendu can't understand. This is the unknown that the gods pursue. In other words, it is possible to have any weird magic and skills. Flan muses. Is Enwei just a key, the key to unlock the infinite possibilities of the body? Loki squinted his eyes and tilted his head. The description is correct. The children of the lower world have an abstract thing called vessel, and the proficiency is just the water filled in. Once the vessel is full, that means it has reached the point where it must be sublimated. As for the method of sublimating the vessel, this is still far away from you. After all, even our IC took a year. Flan nodded, understanding. So that's it. The improvement of proficiency is hard work, I understand. I was thinking about the plan to become stronger in the future, but suddenly found that my main god had been silent for a long time, as if disappearing out of thin air, which was very weird. He turned around suspiciously, and then naturally saw Loki silently looking at him as if he had seen a ghost. Ben's squinted eyes were wide open, like a clown, extremely funny. Flan tilted his head, and slowly made a question mark with a blank face. Hey, Flan, let me ask you, is this really the first time you've received a favor? The bewildered young man opened his mouth and was about to say something, but was interrupted by Loki. What the hell were asking such stupid questions? After all, Loki had a clean back before he bestowed the favor. In other words, he was indeed receiving the favor for the first time. Tisk tisk tisk, amazing, amazing, you child. I think when Finn first received the favor, he had 1 magic and 2 skills, and Rivria had 9 magic and 2 skills, but you. Only then did Flan realize the reason for the complex expression of his master god. Forget it, translate the ability value into common language and see for yourself. By the way, your ability value has already been locked, but there are things like lockpicking medicine. Don't let others see your back, understand? Yet. Naturally, he would not do such a stupid thing of divulging his own information. Then he replied solemnly. Understood. As he spoke, Loki had already translated the ability value into common language on a piece of paper and handed it to him. Flan looked down as Loki pursed his lips in pleasure. Name: Flan Algon. Level LV.1. Ability value, strength. I0 durability. I0 dexterity. I0 dexterity. I0 magic. I0. Development ability. Magic. Searcher. Additional magic, enchantment. Destruction property. Skill. Reader. Strengthen mental power. Doubles the effect in the dark. Immunity to mental pollution. Polymath. You can choose 2 development abilities each time. Learn magic without being restricted by the magic slot. When using magic swords and magic tools, the power is greatly increased. Double magic power. Range. Infinite super magic. Strengthen the spirit through the accumulation of knowledge. Strengthen magic through knowledge accumulation. Magic synchronously increases all attributes. Current accumulation. 0%. With this initial panel, it's no wonder that even the main god couldn't help but lose his mind. Even knowing his details, Flan himself was quite shocked. That's right, as a despicable outsider, Flan also brought his own golden finger when he traveled here. Increase the possibility of magic, this setting. Flan was fascinated by the magic of the fantasy world, and then touched the possibility, he learned the first magic. Eager to read about magic, the possibility becomes a reader. He wanted to keep all the knowledge of magic as his own, and then he had the erudite scholar. As a man who wants to be the strongest magician and mage, he doesn't need weaknesses. The obsession of a hexagonal mage has turned into infinite super magic. This is his confidence. After God's grace acted as a catalyst to open the door of possibility, Flan's potential completely burst out. Looking at the blonde youth with a big smile on his face, Loki couldn't help but smack his lips. This is going to be a big deal. If the children come back from the expedition and know your skills, I'm afraid they will be fried. After imagining the scene in his mind, Flan hurried to his death. That Loki, as a rookie, should keep a low profile, and I'm so weak, I don't really want to attract attention for the time being. Looking at the smiling Flan, the goddess narrowed her eyes, and even he could tell what bad idea the number 1 troublemaker in the heavens was thinking from the upturned corners of her mouth. That's a good point. This Olili is not very peaceful, there are always some smashers and scumbags who want to make trouble. The goddess gave a sinister laugh and slapped Flan hard on the shoulder. Sure enough, if the gods who have lived for an unknown number of years engage in conspiracy and tricks, it is really not something that children from the lower realm can play with. Then, Flan followed suit with a meaningful smile. A grand welcome banquet was held in the cafeteria of Twilight Pavilion, to welcome the new family. In the canteen of a large restaurant that can seat 50 people, Flan, standing next to Rocky, was introduced to everyone by the main god with a smile on his face. Everyone. This is our new family, what's the name? My name is Flan Algon. You can call me Flan. Please give me your advice in the future, everyone. After finishing speaking, Flan bowed respectfully and thanked. With a bang, Loki climbed onto the stool, stepped on his leather boots on the table and held his glass high, showing the ferocious attitude of a fanatical drunkard, leading him to go crazy. Here, then give me a hard drink. No. If the main god takes the lead in drinking alcohol, what will be the result? In an instant, the atmosphere in the whole hall became lively. As the protagonist of this banquet, Flan certainly couldn't escape the experience of being drunk by the wheel. Unfortunately, his drinking capacity is really average because he seldom drinks, so of course he can't stand it suddenly. After all, you have to adapt to everything. When the consciousness regained consciousness, it was already in a brand new room. The sun shines from the endless blue sky, and falls on the face through the thin slits of the curtains. The sleepy blonde youth was awakened by the slightly harsh discomfort, and his eyelids moved. Strange ceiling, strange bedding, strange environment, everything is brand new, but different from the past, with a sense of solidity. Gradually wake up from the mist, just let go of the brain without moving, enjoying the tranquility. Looking back on the shattered memory, Flan's mouth twisted bitterly. The long-lost hangover feeling. Rubbing his still throbbing forehead, he slowly sat up. Gudong, gudong, gudong. Picking up the water cup prepared by someone who didn't know who prepared it for him, he thanked him secretly and drank the water in one gulp, which made his dry and uncomfortable throat a little better. What a nightmare. But, a new life begins today. Slapping his face hard, Flan got up and put on his luggage. Rinse carefully to remove the smell of alcohol. Put on the shirt, trousers and leather boots that are still black linen, and the poor quality belt bag. Putting on the cloak from the hanger, rubbing the chicken coop and pushing the door out. Before leaving, he took a look at the simple room, and then remembered the advice of the senior manager of logistics, and the important things that Flan had left behind broke into it again. Do you want to decorate your own room? It's all money. Shaking his head, he temporarily put all these troubles behind him, the current matter is more important to him. Following the vague memory, Flan walked through the deserted sky corridor and down the stairs to the cafeteria hall on the second floor. Yo, newcomer. How are you? It's not bad. The person who started the conversation was one of the members who poured alcohol on him yesterday, but he didn't know his name at all. Are you planning to go to the trade union to register adventurers today? Make a simple breakfast, a baguette, a fried egg, a glass of milk, and a small bowl of vegetable salad, and then sit in the corner with your seniors to enjoy it. Well, yes. You need money to do anything, whether it's weapons, equipment, or supplies. The sooner you can enter the dungeon, the sooner you can make money. The member on the opposite side laughed and joked. The goal is very clear, that's it. But newcomers, you must pay attention when you go to the dungeon. Even if you have the grace bestowed by the gods to make you stronger, you must remember not to be reckless, and get used to it on the first and second floors. After that, it's not too late to start exploring again. Well, I understand. It's good that you know it in your heart. Some arrogant adventurers lost themselves because of the expansion of their power, and they explored floors beyond their own capacity and lost their lives. Someone who is cautious by nature, it is too late for his life to develop, let him explore further. The joke is not funny at all. The stomach problem was solved. Flan didn't see his main god until he left the Twilight Pavilion. He only thought about the cause and effect for a while and guessed that he was sleeping late after drinking too much. After all, he is a god, and self-willed their privilege. Walking through the courtyard paved with red bricks, he said hello to the gatekeepers, walked along the path through the beautiful green garden, found his way, and soon left the high-end residential area with a low density of people, and his figure appeared in the Northwest Avenue. Standing at the fork of the small road in the main street, there is a lot of noise and hustle and bustle. Northwest Avenue is also commonly known as Adventurer Avenue, and in this labyrinth city, the largest crowd of adventurers has gathered. Including the headquarters of the guild, the management organization of the city or the dungeon, there are countless weapon shops, item shops, hotels and other shops that adventurers must use. Make a slight turn on the street and walk into the back alley, which is also full of old and weird shops, among which you can even find the kind of witch's house that looks scary. Since I came out very early, it was just after 8 o'clock and less than 9 o'clock. According to the unknown senior, this time period should be the time when most adventurers are preparing to go to the dungeon, so this adventurer street there are many people who are preparing to explore the maze. With a casual glance at the street, you can easily see some orc warriors with big swords on their backs entering the weapon shop, and there are also beautiful female mages of the goblin race rushing in and out of the item shop. Of course, the most conspicuous ones are those supporters with huge backpacks. Supporters are a very special profession. They prepare spare weapons and supplies for adventurers, and are responsible for recovering magic stones and dropped props dropped by monsters after battles. They even use bows, arrows, and traps to carry out combat. Support is quite hard work. Because of the issue of combat power, the nature of their profession determines their status. Flan also understands this knowledge, but when exploring dungeons, adventurers and supporters complement each other. Especially starting from the middle. It's a pity that the world is not just black and white, and human nature is something that even the gods cannot understand. It is precisely because of this that the gods of the heavens are attracted by this colorful and constantly changing lower world, isn't it? Shaking his head, he didn't think about these things, after all, he was still a rookie. Finding the target, he went straight to a tall building. The house is completely made of white boulders, with beautiful reliefs carved on the surface, like a sacred temple. The Adventurers Guild, which is also the management organization of cities and dungeons, was established by the first old god of the lower world, Uranus. Everything here is closely related to adventurers, dungeons, and even Orario. In layman's terms, it is the owner of Horario. Looking up at the building for a while, I sighed in my heart. Then he followed the crowd into the spacious hall of the Union headquarters. Standing in it, you can see a huge bulletin board with dense crowds. There are usually some adventure or commissions posted on it. The entrusted content is varied and diverse, making people dazzled. For example, collect some materials, drop props, or investigate certain events, or even go to the dungeon to find a family member who is missing or has no news. There is also some information about the dungeon, such as the refresh time of the floor master, posted on the top, abnormal events on certain floors, and so on. After paying a little attention to the high-end information that was far away from him, he came to the front desk of the hall where the entrustment was handled when there were few people. Hello, do you have anything to do? In order to support the union, the receptionists at the front desk are all young ladies, whether they are half-elf, orc, or human, they all have one thing in common, that is, they are beautiful. Flan is greeted by a human girl with short pink hair that falls to her collarbone. There was a feeling of familiarity. Flan remembered that she seemed to be the best friend of the half-elf receptionist Agina Zur, called. Glancing at her work card, her name is Misha Flot. The fairy-like receptionist noticed his eyes, but she kept a professional smile on her face. Misha Flot, my name is Flan Algon. Please register me as an adventurer. So it's new. Do you need a consultant? Consultant. The youth's golden eyes showed vigilance instantly. This kind of business actively promoted by the pretty lady working at the front desk is usually a huge pit. Toll. Misha Flot's perfect smile froze for a moment, and this surreal speech even made her feel unconfident about her appearance for a moment. Only 5%. Flan, who realized that he only had 2,000 mana left in his whole body, refused instantly. No, just register for me. Raising his hand to interrupt Miss Misha, Flan proved his will of steel with actions. Straight man. What's the use of being handsome? He doesn't know how to please girls at all, he deserves to be single. Misha kept smiling stiffly, and reluctantly helped with the documents required for the adventurer's registration, muttering silently. Question mark. What happened to the black miasma behind her? Silently made a question mark, and then he naturally ignored the psychological changes of the receptionist lady. During the formalities, he waited boredly and looked around. Speaking of which, my infinite super magic skill can ignore the magic slot to learn other people's magic. The boss of the union, Fells, has two good ones, one complete healing magic, one resurrection magic, although the requirements are demanding. Single quote. But people may not be willing to teach, which is really troublesome. If you get involved with the trade union, you will definitely be involved in messy incidents, so wait and see. Single quote. Name. Flan Algon. Gender. Male. Age. 21 years old. Misha Flot stopped the quill in his hand, and looked up at him differently. A 21-year-old rookie. What's wrong? It's nothing. Speaking of which, rookies who become adventurers are generally not very old. It's rare to register at your age. Recalling the powerful adventurers with names and surnames, their rookie period is indeed too young. Ace is 7 years old, Sister Tionatio is even LV.2 at 5 years old, Bert is 10 years old, Finn is 10 years old, Lefia is 12 years old. Thinking about it this way, Flan does not have an advantage in age. However, older age also has its advantages. At least the mentality is mature, and the chances of survival in the early stages of the dungeon are higher. Hearing this, the corner of his mouth twitched. Although his small movements were very subtle, the black-bellied young lady still saw it, and she smiled kindly as if revenge. Faithful advice is hard to hear. This is what a friend from the Far East told me. Affiliated family. The Loki family. Misha Flot was dumbfounded for a moment, and his eyes widened. A newcomer to the Loki family. How come I don't know about this kind of news? Being stared at by the beautiful woman, Flan touched his nose uncomfortably, and squeezed out a stiff smile in embarrassment. I joined yesterday. Didn't I just come here to register? Misha Flot nodded approvingly. Well, that's it. Most members of the Loki family should be on the expedition, otherwise someone should come to accompany you to register. I said why you were alone. Flan's expression stiffened. That's really sorry. The young lady shrugged her shoulders and handed him one of the completed duplicate documents. All right, the registration is complete. Congratulations, Mr. Flan Algon, you have become an adventurer. This is an adventure manual for every new adventurer. Please familiarize yourself with the contents, which will help you explore the dungeon and increase your chances of survival. If you still need information about the dungeon, you can come to the library at the Union headquarters to look it up. Of course, you will be charged by time. Oh, by the way, since you don't need a consultant, you probably don't need the weapons and armor recommended by the Union either. After teasing this stingy-looking handsome blonde guy, Misha Flot smiled mischievously. Flan rolled his eyes and bowed reluctantly. Please, Miss Misha Flot. Then I wish you the best of luck. So I take my leave. Having settled the most important issue of identity at the moment, Flan flipped through the adventurer's handbook as he walked. The above are basically some knowledge about the dungeon and things you need to pay attention to. For example, abnormal situation, monster progress, monster multiplication, monster feast, enhanced species, subspecies, and other information meanings. Another example, an introduction to monsters on each floor. There are not many contents, but they must be familiar with. Turning to the end, Flan did not find any information about the middle, lower, or even deep layers from above. Playing with the manual, he thought about it as the information controlled. That's right. Not to mention the lower level, the monsters in the middle level can only be dealt with by upper level adventurers. If the information is made public, ordinary people may feel desperate for this world. It is worth mentioning that the profession of adventurer also exists in a pyramidal hierarchy. LV.1 level adventurers are collectively referred to as lower level adventurers. Such adventurers occupy as much as half of the entire labyrinth city. Even if they form a team, they can only mix on floors 8 to 12 at most. Once they reach the 13th floor, the monster refresh rate, number of refreshes, and monster strength there are not low-level adventurers. Those who can deal with it. If you accomplish great deeds and sublimate to LV.2, that is another level, called Advanced Adventurer. Once upgraded, the adventurer's strength will usher in a terrifying qualitative change. Under normal circumstances, it is absolutely impossible for a LV.1 adventurer to defeat a LV.2 adventurer. LV.2 is also called Third Level Adventurer, LV.3, LV.4 inches Second Level Adventurer, including LV.5, and the above levels are collectively referred to as First Level Adventurer. Phew, we're finally on the starting line. Next we need a weapon. If we use magic, we shouldn't need to buy armor to deal with the first few floors. Up to now, Flan's total deposits add up to less than 2,000 fares. He gritted his teeth and could bear the price of an inferior dagger. After finishing the business, there is no need to rush home. Flan walked on the Adventurer Avenue with a wandering mentality. When he first came to this city, he was very curious about many scenes. For example, the weapons displayed outside the weapon shop on the street made him very excited every time he saw them. Until passing by the luxury shop with the signboard, He Faith Toss Family, looking through the glass at the string of 0 weapons and armor behind the price, Flan only felt dizzy in his brain. A rapier, the price is 38 million fares, I'm fooling a plant. Taking a breath, Flan swears in shock, and then keeps away instantly. Not to mention those big bosses in the avant-garde and central defender, Flan is a magician. He suddenly had a clearer understanding of the most reasonable saying about how to play a magician without gold coins. A long sword used by an adventurer can move tens of millions, so how about a better staff? As we all know, phase things are never cheap. After all, how can chanting magic and firing map guns be as compelling as slashing with a sword? By the way, my skills allow me to learn 2 developmental abilities per level, so I decided to put blacksmithing and mystery on the first level candidate list. Driven mad by reality, Flan made his initial determination. And in this lower realm where gods and people live together, God's skills are really something that can be seen and touched. This is a craft that lasts a lifetime. On the bustling street, he wandered around for most of the day. In the end, I bought a dagger worth 1,600 farleys in an unremarkable grocery store in a backstreet. The blade of the short sword is 40 centimeters long, slightly longer than the forearm. The blade is not bright, but the sharpness is not bad. This weapon is more than enough to deal with the small monsters at the upper level. In this regard, the store also presented a sword case of unknown leather, which is considered a very satisfactory shopping. Okay, I have the weapon for the time being. Go back to the station to accumulate some knowledge, improve some attribute values, and explore the dungeon before the money is spent. Back at the Twilight Pavilion, the sky is already red. The mountains in the distance seemed to be on fire, magnificent and fantastic. First I went back to my room, put the cloak and weapons away, then took some bread in the cafeteria, and went to the underground library. As Olali's most powerful family, the Loki family's library collection is naturally not overwhelming. The huge library that is many times larger than the dining room is divided into 2 floors, and the stairs covered with gorgeous carpets circle the huge space. Just standing here, you can smell knowledge in your breath. With longing for the unknown burning in his eyes, Flan took out a copy of The Labyrinth City Orario and the Dungeon, and read it quietly. Located in the center of the Labyrinth City Orario, the huge chalk tower is called Babel Tower, which was built by the famous craftsman, Daedalus, thousands of years ago. This building seals the only exit of the dungeon. It is a kind of seal that acts as a cover, suppressing the monsters inside. Flan, who knew the mystery, understood that the monsters could not appear on the ground due to the suppression and prayers of the old god Uranus. And the closer the floor is to the ground, the weaker the powerful monsters are. Under the Tower of Babel, there is the only secret place in the world, the underground labyrinth, also known as the underground city. Thousands of years ago, it was also called ancient times by modern people. At that time, the gods had not yet come to the lower realm, and the monsters conceived in the dungeon rushed out of the ground frantically, and carried out crazy killings in the whole world. It was a chaotic age, a dark age. The people of the lower world had no way to compete with the monsters, and almost wiped out their clan. From this mercy they descended their clones, spirits. The great elves assisted the human heroes in a desperate struggle against the monsters, and finally managed to block the torrent of monsters. And as time passed, the battle situation began to change. The heroes fought with blood and will, staged a magnificent epic, and finally pushed the monsters back to the dungeon, where a huge fortress was built. This is also the predecessor story of The Labyrinth City Orario. Then, the ancient times ended, the gods came down to earth, and the Age of Gods began, deducing the family myth. But the legends of ancient heroes have been handed down to this day. They are sung by bards, sung by people, and written into fairy tales, such as The Sacred Heroes. Is it a family myth? This is the Age of Gods. Closing the somewhat old parchment, Flan's heart twitched. It really makes people's blood boil. Even me, who is not a boy anymore, was touched. Sure enough, he is the hero that even teenagers yearn for. Then he laughed at himself again. Unfortunately, I am long past the age of the virgin. Put the book back on the shelf, and then pulled out another hardcover parchment. Introduction to Dungeon Upper Terrain and Monsters. This is not bad. Muttering to himself, Flan turned the pages. After thousands of years of exploration, the dungeon has been divided into upper level, middle level, lower level, deep level, and unknown level. The upper floor generally refers to floors 1 to 12. There is no sunlight and no water here, and what you can see are all kinds of forked roads, caves, and endless labyrinthine caves. Relatively speaking, the difficulty of attacking the upper layer is not high. Even LV.1 lower-level adventurers can attack in a small group. When it comes to the middle level area, things become completely different. From the 13th floor, you have entered the cave labyrinth, and it also has a special name, which is called the original dead line by adventurers. Not only will there be abnormal situations here, but there will also be changes in the terrain, usually large-scale collapses, which are used to block regular routes. The intricate routes can easily consume all the adventurers' stamina and supplies, and then they are ridden like shafts by monsters. If the situation cannot be dealt with calmly, the only outcome waiting for the adventurers is death. As for the types of monsters refreshed at the upper level, they are generally small types that are easier to deal with. Most of them have no special abilities and are the best type to deal with. The recorded monsters include kobolds, goblins, lizards, frog shooters, war shadows, killer ants and so on. LV.1 Newcomers can complete the exploration even if they calmly deal with the first few floors where the spawn rate and quantity are not high. Closing the book with a snap, Flan let go of his frowning. Sure enough, it's not as simple as I thought. After putting the book back, this time he was not in a hurry to read other books, but quietly digested the unknown knowledge he had collected. It was not until a long time later that I picked up the next book and went to the reading area to continue reading. At the beginning of the moonlight, the night is dim. The entire Twilight Pavilion has been darkened, and the lights dotted in the courtyard slightly illuminate the dark corner. The castle-like residence stands quietly like a giant beast crawling in the dark. It is completely two extremes with the brightly lit downtown area and happy streets surrounded by magic stone lamps. In the underground library of the headquarters, the dark atmosphere makes it look a little mysterious. Only a corner of the reading area is lit by a warm-colored magic stone lamp. In the state of concentrating on reading, in Flan's golden pupils, there are two blue rings that contain turquoise brilliance around the pupils. And this is the special effect that triggers the skill. Reader. Strengthen mental power. Doubles the effect in the dark. Immunity to mental pollution. The powerful mental power makes Flan's memory ability improve rapidly, and he maintains a full spirit. At night, this effect reaches its peak. This made him absorb knowledge more enthusiastically. At some point, there was an inaudible sound in the quiet corridor, until it extended to the hall on the first floor and then to the basement. Gently, a gap was exposed in the door of the library, and a red divine eye that shone even in the dark opened slightly, gazing secretly through the space at the figure swimming in the ocean of knowledge. Is this his skill? Hell's spiritual power increase and night doubling effect. From now on, there will be a nerd in the family who reads at night with a lamp. A mischievous smile appeared on the face of the mischievous god whose lips curled up. Perhaps having him join can also stimulate the children who are stagnant, but is it too much to use Flan as a target? No, for everyone, I will sacrifice you a little bit. Sorry, hehehehe. Flan woke up suddenly with a shiver, and quickly looked left and right suspiciously. There is always a bad feeling about it. In the end, I didn't find anything, so I immersed myself in the book again. With the help of interest, no matter what you do, you will feel that time passes quickly. Sunrise and sunset, day and night cycle, the city from noisy to silent, day after day. The changes in the nether are fascinating, and the eternal gods have fun every day, exploring unknowns and possibilities that delight them. The popularity of being a newcomer in the Loki family has also gradually dissipated. The family has a great career. At the moment when most of the family members are going on an expedition, everyone is busy around. On this day, the door of the library that had not been moved for several days was opened. With a chicken nest head on his head, Flan walked out unsteadily. The clothes on his body were wrinkled, and he looked a little sloppy. Counting the time, it has been 5 or 6 days since Flan lived in the library. The companions haven't seen the newcomer in the past few days, and thought that something happened to him when he got into the dungeon, so they hurriedly asked their master gods. As a result, the main god waved his hand and said that there is no need to worry, and the group of people had no choice but to go to work with doubts. Only Loki knew how terrifying the child's growth was. Tisk tisk tisk, I haven't seen such an exaggerated child in thousands of years. Just stayed in the library and read books for 5 days, and his ability value has increased by 2,505 casually. We are really looking forward to his future. Wait for Sidon and the others back from the expedition, hehehehe. Loki took a sip of wine with a suspicious face on his face, and then let out a funny laugh. He casually burned the common language proficiency form in his hand, and the name of Flan Algon appeared on it vaguely. Name: Flan Algon. Level: LV.1. Ability value: Strength, D501, Durability, D501, Dexterity, D501, Dexterity, D501, Magic, D501. Development ability: Magic, Searcher, Enchantment, Destruction property. Skill: Reader. Strengthen mental power. Doubles the effect in the dark. Immunity to mental pollution. Polymath. You can choose 2 development abilities each time. Learn magic without being restricted by the magic slot. When using magic swords and magic tools, the power is greatly increased. Double magic power, range. Infinite super magic. Strengthen the spirit through the accumulation of knowledge. Strengthen magic power through knowledge accumulation. Magic synchronously increases all attributes. Current accumulation. 0.3%. The terrifying increase made both Loki and Flan hell. In Loki's words, your growth rate may be able to catch up with Icy and others in a year. That being said, he didn't think so himself. The improvement of proficiency becomes more and more difficult as you go to the back, for example. When the ability value is I, he may increase dozens of points by reading a book with rich content. And when it comes to C, or even B, or A, maybe reading a book can only add a few points. Correspondingly, the same is true for the strengthening effect of infinite super magic on the spirit and magic through the accumulation of knowledge. In the beginning, a book could increase by 0.01%, and later this value also slowly decreased. Although there is a golden house in the book, there is another sentence: reading thousands of books is not as good as traveling thousands of miles. Smiling and shaking his head, Flan felt that he was too greedy. Then he frowned slightly and struggled again. No matter how high the attribute is, it's nonsense. I'm just a whiteboard super soldier now. I don't have any skills and strategies, and even my combat experience is 0. In addition, the famous saying of a goblin in a certain place, knowledge is money. Flan knew that his Krypton Gold Road could no longer go on, and he had to go to the dungeon to make money. Just today. After breakfast, start preparations in the room. Because we only explore the upper floors, we can go back and forth on the same day. Breakfast has already been settled, so just bring a lunch box. The weapon is a 1600 mana dagger, and there is no armor, if you don't count the cloak. To collect dropped items and magic stones, you need a strong backpack. A gift from a certain member can be used. It was a handmade sturdy backpack with a size of about 600*400*400, more than enough for newcomers. As for the medicine, I don't have money to buy it. Let's talk about it after I come out of the dungeon. Okay, let's go. After the preparation is complete, Flan is ready to start the first exploration. Wearing a black cloak, carrying a backpack, and a newly bought short sword pinned to the inferior belt on the back of his waist, he feels a bit high-spirited. Come on, little Flan. I don't know when, the main god of my family stood in the open-air corridor on the second floor, waving to himself non-stop. Flan turned his head and raised his fist, a confident smile on his face. Then set off quietly. Loki narrowed his eyes and pursed his lips as he watched him slowly disappear at the end of the path. I don't know how far you can grow this time. Let's really look forward to it. That's, with the excellence of this child, the cheating ability of that nympho goddess has not been discovered. Is it accidental, or the red-haired goddess was lost in thought? Flan didn't know if he could respond to the full expectation of the Lord God, but he was sure and certain that he would respond to his expectations. Walking through the garden and out of the path, the turbulent crowd came into view. Adventurers and supporters in full gear roamed the North Street. Some were talking and laughing with a relaxed expression, while others were sullen and tense, but no matter what their mood was, everyone was fully armed. No one dares to underestimate the underground city, the ever-changing, underground labyrinth. A little negligence will ruin your life. Call. Taking a deep breath, Flan tightened his backpack, put on his cape hat and blended into the crowd. Goal, Tower of Babel. Meow, so sleepy meow. The dazed cat person girl is wearing a cute light green uniform and a white apron, with a hint of sleepiness on her petite and cute face, a veritable lazy cat. In front of the tavern, she took a broom that was about the same height as her and swept the 3-acre land that belonged to her loosely. Really meow, these adventurers get up so early every day meow, they don't know how to enjoy meow at all. Okay, Anya, everyone is here to live, and so are we. Those serious words, just by the sound and tone, I knew it was a stubborn fairy. A beautiful elf wearing a tavern waiter uniform like Catwoman, with a cute white lace headband and a delicate pretty face, plus slightly curly short green hair, it feels as comfortable as a breeze. The only thing that destroys the whole is the unchanging cold eyes. Isn't Liu sleepy? Meow. And what's good about the dungeon? Meow. Just think about Meow's disgusting monster. Hey. The cute catwoman named Anaya has a burst of brown tail hair, which shows that she really hates dungeons. Glancing at the other black-haired cat girl who was not doing her job well, the elf girl was sweeping the ground solemnly, not knowing what she was thinking. Maybe she has always been like this, and the friends in the tavern are used to it. Liu, look, look. Over there. There's a handsome little big brother with blonde hair and golden eyes. He's the same as that sword girl. Wow, so handsome. Meow, I want him to touch my. Shut up, Roy, you're too rude. Hey, where is it? Let Meow see it too. The speechless fairy girl sighed with a headache. These two cats are like this every time. They are always swollen and smug. They often dig their own graves. Anyway, they are just unlucky every time. Pile up the clean debris in the trash can in the corner, and the fairy girl named Liu followed the eyes of the two cats and looked over. Knowing everything about her friends, she is also curious that the ones who can attract their attention must not be ordinary people. In the field of vision, it was a young adventurer wearing a black cloak and hood and carrying a large bag. Liu had noticed it before. He stopped not far from the tavern and looked around for a long time. Superman's dynamic vision could see his curious eyes. Guess he was a newcomer. The store of the Mistress of Fertility is really famous in the neighborhood, and there are really very few adventurers who have never heard of its name. Wow, handsome little big brother, would you like to come in for a drink, Tilda? The black-haired catwoman, Roy Lolo, showed a sweet and lovely smile, and greeted the blonde young man generously and enthusiastically. Flan was on his way to the facilities of the giant Tower of Babel in the center. He took a detour to a street stall in the back alley and bought 230 Fally fried potato balls for lunch. He happened to pass by this very well-known tavern, so he stopped slightly. I looked around curiously. As a result, the catwoman who was cleaning in the early morning caught her eye at a glance. Huh. My soul is probably not bright at all, and I shouldn't be targeted by Freya. Is it because I'm so handsome? While thinking narcissistically, Flan winked at the four girls looking at him and pointed at himself. That's right, Meow. Meow is the one who invites you because she sees you pleasing to the eye. It is impossible for ordinary people to meow even if they ask for meow. The poor are almost unable to uncover the pot, and this will be tricked again. Forget it. I'm sorry about the 30 farleys left all over me. Such a poor adventurer. Hearing Flan's words, even the goblin lady who was watching coldly widened her eyes slightly. No way, could it be that you really? Flan rubbed his nose in embarrassment, and smiled apologetically at the only human girl with short hair, Lenova. Sorry, I just became an adventurer yesterday, and today is the first time I went to the dungeon. It's really a rookie, Meow. Don't throw your little arms and legs in the dungeon, Meow. The cat's venomous tongue really hurt, Flan complained inwardly. Well, although I'm suspected of bragging, I still feel that I'm pretty strong. After he finished speaking, he thought about it again, and the corner of his mouth curled up and blinked. If this is the case, how about taking a gamble, beautiful Miss Catman, such as providing a free lunchbox? When I return triumphantly in the evening, I will give you an increase in performance. Isn't that a good idea? PFF'd. I'm dying of laughter, Meow. But Roy, you've been tricked, Meow. Hey, brother is not stupid. Anya and Lenova laughed out loud, and even the expressionless fairy Lou twitched her brows. As a tavern waitress who has been working for 4 years, they have seen a lot of various routines, but usually it is the witch who routines other people, and today this trick is reversed. It's really this. My name is Flan Algon. Mr. Algon, since it's your first day to explore the dungeon, please be careful. You can't be too vigilant there. The empty eyes seemed to tell the girl's story, and the serious and very polite attitude and words completely showed Flan what a goblin should look like. Should it be called Hayate? Flan was silent, put away his smile and nodded solemnly. Thank you, then I'm off. Come on, rookie. The tuft of blonde hair quickly disappeared from sight along with the crowd, and several girls gathered around Liu. Liu, have you noticed, that little brother has a special temperament? Anaya, who has keen senses and an extraordinary background, holds a broom close to the fairy girl and whispers. It's really special. I didn't feel that kind of disgust from him, but what it is I can't say. As we all know, goblins will never let people they don't like touch them, and even approaching them will make goblins frown when they are bored. But that year just now did not give him that disgusting feeling, which made Liu himself put a question mark in his heart. But Roy and another human girl, Lunova, also came over. Shishi, I smell like pen and ink on my body, meow. Stupid meow, what are you sniffing around there? They've already gone so far. Besides, it's just to see how handsome they are, you nympho cat. Meow. Irascible girl, what nonsense are you talking about? I didn't say that you didn't know in your heart. Meow, look at the fist. You stupid girls are arguing so early in the morning, why don't you give me a good job? The super loud voice gave these girls a thunderous blow, and they were all honest in an instant. The real owner of Beautiful Women, Mia's mother, was wearing dark blue overalls and a white apron, standing in front of the window with her muscular arms tucked into her waist, and glared at the girls who were not working hard and fishing there. Then he glanced at Flan's back in the distance, wondering what he was thinking. As for Flan, of course he didn't know about the uproar after he left. After a small episode, this time Flan successfully arrived at the huge central square of the Tower of Babel. The huge central square has a huge impact on Flan, who comes to Flan for the first time. This endless square surrounding the Tower of Babel is paved with neat white bricks and stones, and the craftsmanship of excellent craftsmen even makes them a whole, seamlessly integrated. At this time, it was the peak time for adventurers to go to the dungeon, and the entire square was crowded with people. Some of them traveled alone, presumably senior adventurers who were quite confident in their own strength. There are also teams that go forward in teams, as few as 3 or 5 people, and as many as a dozen people. Infected by this scene, Flan also launched his first exploration with great enthusiasm. The dungeon is located directly below the labyrinth city Orario. Its architecture is conical, and as the number of layers gets deeper, the area becomes larger and larger. And the entrance at the tip, that is, the uppermost floor, is on the basement floor of the Tower of Babel. There is a big hole here, enter from the artificially built, well, go down the spiral staircase, and formally enter the first floor belonging to the upper floor. Standing in front of the entrance, Flan watched slightly. The cave is like a monster with a huge mouth open, as if the darkness that can devour everything extends to the depths, waiting for adventurers to explore. In the narrow field of vision, the walls of the dungeon are glowing with phosphorescence, which is soft but not dazzling, but a little dim. In addition, there are narrow passages, forks, and caves of various shapes everywhere. The combat environment is quite unfriendly. The sense of oppression brought by the environment and atmosphere, and the sense of crisis that monsters refresh and erode the whole body all the time, adventurers are really not everyone can do it. Whispering cautiously, facing the unknown in front of him, he moved forward. Crack. Not long after, the young man who had just become an adventurer ushered in his first battle. There was a hole in the wall of the dungeon, and a monster emerged from the dark red energy package. How to describe this scene? A monster born from the mother of the dungeon. With its dark gray fur and short stature, it has the ability to fight upright. The sharp claws on the limbs and the exposed fangs are shining with cold light. Just a casual swing can tear the aorta or heart of an ordinary person. It is a real fighting monster. Coupled with those scarlet eyes full of malevolence, Flan has a kind of creepy needle feeling. Is it a monster? Ha, it's a real adventure for me, an otaku who hasn't changed for a few days. He laughed at himself and let his nervous body relax a bit, but cold sweat still broke out on his forehead. The first time is the hardest. As long as I complete first blood, I can complete the metamorphosis. Definitely. Pumping himself up like this, Flan let his body relax, bent his knees, walked slowly and drew his short sword. Take a deep breath. He clenched the first weapon he named, Jungle Dagger, tightly, sweat dripping from his palm. The heartbeat of boom, boom, boom was almost deafening. The blood is flowing rapidly, and the whole body is emitting heat. The despair brought about by that kind of fear, his brain became blank at some point, which made him suddenly widen his eyes. Then, it exploded. With his left foot exerting strength, the right hand holding the sword was horizontally in front of him, and he rushed out like an arrow from the string. Even with a huge backpack on his back, it couldn't affect his posture in any way. Ah! It is unforgivable for a weak enemy to act first against him. The weak intelligence makes it angry, and the instinct drives the body to act. The kobold opened its fangs and quickly swung out a pair of sharp claws, ready to kill this human being and sacrifice it to the Great Mother. However, a white light slashed by the short sword easily broke through the claw's defense, cut off the weapon it was proud of, and tore its body violently. It was a splitting sound like tearing cloth, and it was also a cheer of victory. Crosscut, a bit of a miss, chopping the neck sideways, even chopping off its shoulders. With a bang, the kobold really turned into black ash within a minute of his appearance. Flan, who kept the knife moving, showed embarrassment, then raised his hand and scratched his head. That's it. Why does it feel a bit like cutting ribs? I don't think the swordsman's slash is as crisp and neat. When I slashed, the sword's line was distorted by some kind of resistance, and the hilt didn't stick well in my hand. I forcibly used my strength to resist the pulling force. Is this the gap in skills? Open and close, open and close. I don't know if I am relieving the tension of my body and mind, looking at my palm and falling into thought. Let's learn the technique of exerting force today. Putting away the dagger, he picked up the dropped item no bigger than the nail of a pinky finger. Magic Stone, the boon of the dungeon. Olali obtained a lot of money through the export of Magic Stone products. In Flan's view, this thing is the best clean energy, even omnipotent. This 100 fares. Or 200 fares. In the tavern, the Mistress of Abundance, a large bowl of fried noodles costs 400 fares, and a drink costs 300 fares. In other words, at least 700 fares for a meal. Of course, 30 farleys of potato balls can barely get by. It's not easy to live in any world. Putting the magic stone into the backpack, he was ready to continue exploring. Afterwards, one after another, he had several fights with the monsters. Over time, each battle was a new experience for Flan. That's something called combat experience. The first time he was still swayed by the resistance of cutting into the fur, but the second time he was able to control the sense of confusion a little bit. After the third or fourth time, you will be well prepared to hit where you want to hit. Of course ordinary people cannot do this, but with the God's grace, this impossible becomes possible. The rapid increase in combat experience, skills and strategies made Flan grow like crazy, and then, slowly changed from an ordinary person. Boom boom boom. A row of 3 goblins turned into black ash in front of him, and the magic stone glistened in his hand. Flan questioned again. The level of ordinary adventurers should be like mine. What's going on with this one-sided battle? Or is it that everyone can easily navigate the second and third floors? After collecting the booty, he fell into a short thought while holding the water bag. Wait, my ability value. Originally, he didn't think about it, but Flan couldn't believe the cruel reality. The restrictions of the race make the attributes of adventurers have different strengths and weaknesses. The small human race has a strong vision, a flexible body, and the highest dexterity value. Dwarves are born with advantages that other races cannot match in terms of strength and durability, and elves are a natural magical race. Orcs have powerful 5 senses and an excellent body, and Amazon female warriors are completely a collection of battles. In the end, only pure-blooded humans are the most mediocre, with no strengths or weaknesses. Thinking of this cruel fact, the corners of Flan's mouth twitched. Combined with my ability value attribute, it should completely crush the monster's potential ability, so it makes me fight so easily. The legendary attribute suppression, it's not a skill at all. He finally guessed why. Moreover, the sense of incongruity in my body should also be due to the fact that my attributes have improved too quickly, and my body and mind have not been well balanced. Whether it's shoes or clothes, new things always have a sense of discomfort, let alone weapons and equipment. This feeling will slowly disappear with use and time. It's more obvious if you put it on the body. In the previous battle, Flan wanted to rush in front of the monster, but his body didn't listen at all, and he used a completely unexpected force. Originally, beheading the enemy's neck cleanly and neatly would end the battle, but because of unexpected force, the arm was cut off together, wasting an unknown amount of energy. This is the awkward feeling of physical and mental dislocation, and the difference in fighting skills. Another trouble. Thinking of his current predicament, he shook his hair angrily. This is really a trouble for happiness. How can other people have the sequelae of increasing attribute values so quickly? After collecting the magic stones, Flan walked to the end of the passage. Is this the passage to the second floor? Go down and have a look. After considering the battles he had experienced, he was completely above the danger line, so he entered the second floor without hesitation. In the dungeon, the spawn rate and number of monsters on each floor are increased. In other words, as long as it is within the acceptable range, the speed increase will directly speed up the earning speed. Not only that, but it is also very helpful for the acquisition of combat experience and combat skills. As predicted, after coming to the second floor, the number of monsters refreshed at one time increased to 4. Huh, come on. The rapid white light weaves cold patterns, blooming on the monster's body. 1, 2, 3, 4. Taking advantage of my own agility, I kept pulling the formation of the monsters so that I would not fall into the enemy's siege. When exploring the dungeon alone, I was most afraid of being attacked by the enemy. Therefore, it is a very wise choice to fight while walking, to stretch the distance, and to use the narrow passage corner to kill the monsters that bite first one by one. In less than a day, he found some tricks. This is talent. No, not at all. He knew how bad his talents were. As for being able to find the right method so quickly, the human experience of the two lives played a vital role. As a game expert, I have played countless dungeons, attracting monsters, pulling monsters, gathering monsters, kite tactics, using terrain to block positions, arranging traps, even going around pillars, blocking vision, cheating interrupts, pre-reading, etc. Flan made it up by hand. Of course, it is impossible to have the power of ordinary people, but through the possibility developed by God's grace, and the metamorphosis after the improvement of ability value, all this has become possible. Facing monsters with LV.1 potential abilities, under the overwhelming attribute advantage, as long as they pull the distance and defeat them one by one, they can ensure that they will not be injured and prolong the battle time. Boom. The last monster was pierced through the head by a sword under his cunning vision trap. Phew, I'm a little tired. Taking a deep breath of the stuffy air in the dungeon, he began to tidy up the battlefield. Well, kobold's teeth, drop props, this piece can be sold for 2,000 farley. Fortunately, the monster broke out, dropping props. Generally, the materials dropped directly by such monsters are good things. They can be used to make weapons, armors, medicines, props, and even magic props. Basically, Olali's stores have recycling. As for the price, that's another topic. Picking up the last small magic stone, Flan shook the bag of magic stones in his hand, smiling. Earning so much in one day, I finally have something to look forward to. The innocent, hey, laughed twice, put away the important loot, and he was ready to return to the ground. This is the 5th floor. No, it's the door to the 6th floor passage. With his ability value, as long as he adapts to the rhythm of the battle, it is only natural to come here. Whether it is strength, durability, or dexterity and agility, they are all higher than monsters. Even if the skills are rough, clumsy, or even look a little funny, they can still kill the enemy. The attribute that can completely carry out LV sublimation is a ruthless crush on small monsters. Boom. Heavy vibrations came from the floor passage ahead, accompanied by the sound of footsteps. An ominous premonition permeated the whole body. Hey, it's my first day in the dungeon, don't mess with me. He put the sword horizontally in front of his body, his whole body tensed up, biting his lip with complicated emotions, and prepared to fight. The footsteps were getting closer and closer, and startling screams could already be heard. Save! Help! Save life ah. Their clothes looked like beggars, their armor was torn, their bodies were covered in blood, and even one of them lost an arm. The severely injured adventurers ran out of the passage. He opened his mouth, but couldn't say anything. The owner who made the shocking footsteps of boom, 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 just broke into his eyes with arrogance and unreasonableness. Oh. Seeing a strange enemy, that, first vented his anger at being run away by the prey, and then directly aimed at the enemy protecting the prey, and launched an attack. This is a saber-toothed tiger. Must it be a saber-toothed tiger? Flan's forehead was sweating violently, and his scalp was numb. The monster's strong body over 3 meters and terrifying fangs, it is hard to imagine whether it will be strung into a gourd. No, that's right. An elite-level monster with potential abilities approaching LV.2, a rare monster that only appears on the 11th floor of the saber-toothed tiger. Why? Why does it appear on the 6th floor? This is obviously a monster on the 11th floor. Flan is also a little confused, but the situation is still under control. Because of his fear of death, he has no obvious injuries even after exploring for a day, but the cloak and clothes are a little messy. Lunch is just 2 fried potato balls, plus the mental and physical exhaustion of a day of fighting. Only a small half of the physical strength is left, and the overall combat ability has dropped to a critical point. In this state, it is obviously a bit of a joke to fight monsters whose potential ability has basically reached LV.2. So he planned to use the trump card and make a quick decision. Hurry up. Originally, he kindly advised his colleagues to run quickly, but before they finished speaking, they had already disappeared around the corner behind them. Give me the monster. WDNMD, I got the achievement, Monster Contribution, on the first day. After a day of fighting, he is no longer that rookie. In this desperate situation, I can still laugh. I can only say that my ability to withstand stress is quite good. Forget it. We've been fighting for a whole day, and this kind of evenly matched opportunity is rare. In today's final program, let's have a duel with all our strength. Strengthening his will, he was a little excited. Then, he chanted his own mantra. Using the end. Ragnarok. Crackling. Dark red lightning entangled with black flame suddenly rose from Flan's body, burning blazingly. The short blonde hair was also blown by the rising air, swaying with the black flames. In the pupils of the same color, a circle of empty blue brilliance circulated, sublimating Flan's temperament in an all-round way. The oppressive feeling of the eruption even easily cracked and melted the ground under his feet. In the tunnel, the temperature began to rise strangely, and the vision was distorted by the high temperature. The magic belonging to Flan Algon is activated when facing a strong enemy. Searcher. Enchantment. Destruction property. Chant text. Come to the end. Ragnarok. This is the possibility of Flan Algon, guided by God's grace, and a miracle formed by the magnification of the golden finger. Ho 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 ho. Without giving him any time to think, the tiger's eyes glowed with blood, the body stretched into a graceful arc, and the huge body suddenly rushed towards Flan with terrifying power. The distance of 5 meters seemed to be non-existent, and it rushed to the front so abruptly. The piercing fangs tore through the strong wind and attacked him. When life is threatened, he will be driven by instinct. He quickly raised his right hand holding the jungle dagger, and accurately blocked the fatal blow. Attribute values from dexterity and dexterity have an effect. But the violent impact still caused the body to slide back a certain distance. Squeak. 1600 Farley's jungle dagger moaned in pain, completely unable to withstand the heavy blows of the enemy. Flan, whose body was a little numb, frowned in astonishment from the tremendous force transmitted from his right arm. This is the potential ability close to LV.2. Impossible. My ability value after turning on the magic has surpassed a whole level. Lifting his head suddenly, he met the enemy's red eyes, and then he discovered to his horror that there was a faint thing called wisdom in it. A bolt of lightning tore through his consciousness. Enhanced species. Enhanced species, a specific name for an abnormal situation. In the dungeon, some unusual monsters are occasionally born. They not only hunt adventurers, but also ruthlessly hunt their compatriots. All because of the characteristics of enhanced species, they can devour magic stones to strengthen themselves without limit. The same is true for targeting compatriots and adventurers. Killing adventurers is not an end, but a process. Because they have things called magic stones in their hands. Why can Flan see faint intelligence in the eyes of his enemies? It was precisely because he noticed that the enemy had wisely judged that it was much more efficient to collect magic stones from adventurers than from compatriots. This also proves from the side why it gave up those few remnants and defeated generals and turned to focus on itself. All because of the magic stone in his backpack. Knowing the cause and effect, Flan uttered an obscenity, and then he let out a low shout and used his right arm to set aside the fangs with all his strength. With the huge reaction force, his toes quickly opened the distance between him and the enemy. A round of confrontation, up and down to score. He put the dagger in front of him, bent his knees and tensed his whole body. His eyes were fixed on the enemy, and his brain was thinking quickly. The enemy is a medium-sized species, which has stronger strength and defense than the small-sized species. The agility and dexterity of the beast form must also be very strong. Natural weapons, fangs and claws, combined with body size, have a wider attack range. But a body longer than 3 meters will definitely not be able to exert 100% of its strength in such a narrow passage on the 5th floor. Although its potential ability is higher than that of me who has turned on magic, it is definitely not much higher. Flan with all attribute D, after activating magic, possesses combat power beyond LV, which can probably reach the lower level of LV.2. From the process of fighting just now, I can feel that the ability value is stronger than myself, but it is very limited, close to the middle level of LV.2, so I can't achieve the form of crushing. Thinking of this, the golden eyes narrowed slightly, and the circles of light blooming with empty blue light circulated. Flan made a decision. There is a chance. Quickly working out a plan, he was ready to attack. Call. With a bang, the black-red flame thunder erupted again, and the whole person turned into black light and pierced in a straight line. Ho 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 ho. The enemy roared, and instead of attacking with fangs, he raised his right front paw and tore it out from top to bottom. The terrifying force even blew out the airflow. One of the adventurer's laws, the attack that can be avoided is never hard. The powerful dynamic vision captured the enemy's counterattack with blurred vision. At the moment of being torn apart, he quickly stepped on the side of his right foot, slipped his body to avoid the fatal blow, and used the gap to get close to the enemy's head, and backhanded the dagger pierces the jaw. Ding! The luminous fangs held back the raid, but the result was just the opposite. Because this is a premeditated full blow, and the enemy is just passively parrying. Drink. With a roar, the black flames and lightning all over his body suddenly exploded, and the terrifying power sent out a huge impact from bottom to top, directly lifting the huge size of the enemy off the ground. It flew. Oh and oh. Anger devoured the enemy's meager sanity, and the monster's instinct dominated it again. This human must be killed. Thinking this way, it will take action. Even in the air, its powerful latent ability can make it swing deadly claws. Hiss. Ding ding ding. The dagger covered with black fire and red thunder flashed black and white light, and he once again shattered the enemy's counterattack. The veins on Flan's forehead twitched, and he jumped with all his strength to kill the monster in front again. Ding ding ding. A man and a beast collided crazily. The collision of fangs and short swords made a sharp metal friction sound, and the sharp claws tore through the air and shook the ground. The violent black flames and dark red thunder burned the distorted field of vision, and the rubbed rocks were burned red and melted, turning into scalding fluid. The furious counterattacks became faster and faster, and the pressure gradually tilted on Flan. Even if the attributes don't prevail, the young man with wisdom uses his shallow knowledge of physics to keep parrying the powerful momentum with his side. Every time, he vented his strength to his side. He was like a flat boat in the wind and waves, which kept swaying but never broke. Induction. This is also one of the experience of fighting, to induce the development of fighting in a direction that is beneficial to oneself. If the attribute is not as good as the opponent, then use reason to crush the opponent. Even his crude skills can be used in this tactic. Black fire and thunder swayed on his body, the black cloak began to be broken, and even the clothes inside began to be damaged, and wounds torn by sharp claws kept adding to his body. But that's all there is. No attack can cause fatal injuries, that's human instinct. As for the enemy, bloody scars began to appear on the pitch-black hair, and the longest one even almost cut off one of its legs. The deep wound and pain stimulated the monster again, and its attack became violent and messy. Seeing this scene, he took a deep breath, and a light flashed in Flan's eyes, whose physical fitness had bottomed out. The opportunity he had been waiting for a long time came. The dominant side can't attack for a long time. That kind of heavy pressure can easily overwhelm a person and make him anxious, let alone a monster. The saber-toothed tiger who has been pulled has already lost in the game. The violent power was endowed with sharp claws, and it swung that claw with all its strength as if venting its anxious anger. But Flan, which has captured the change in its mentality, has long been ready. I saw that his whole body was covered with black fire and thunder. He bent his knees and jumped, turned over to avoid the fatal blow, and at the same time held the jungle dagger with his backhand, and thrust it vigorously into the enemy's claws. On. A roar mixed with anger, pain, and malice poured into Flan's brain, causing his efforts to freeze for a moment. Crack. This was a decisive blow, but it ushered in a reversal. The enemy has evolved a magic-like ability. This is not the most desperate thing, but Flan's only weapon, the jungle dagger, has been shattered after intense fighting and the devastation of destructive magic. A weapon that replaces an enemy's limb and abolishes its mobility is profitable no matter how you look at it. For others, this is already a surefire result. Confused, Flan punched Tiger in the face, and then backed away quickly. No more weapons. An embarrassing thing happened. Fighting monsters with your body is definitely overthinking. The monster's body has an unparalleled advantage. Adventurers with weapons are at a disadvantage against it. How can they fight monsters without weapons? Hee hee. The severely injured monster let out a terrible roar from its throat, and its ferocity had returned to its original state. The unarmed Flan is in a desperate situation again. If he wants to run, he will definitely not be able to escape. He will destroy the enemy's mobility, but with his size, he will not be able to pass. Once the back is exposed to the enemy, there is only one end to greet him. There is only one way in a narrow passage, and this is the case when the brave wins when the narrow road meets. Phew, I still have magic. And, feeling the soaring spiritual power, Flan smiled. Now, I am the stronger. In the labyrinth city of Warario, the huge city wall to the west is rendered in the color of dusk by the fiery red of the sky. As time went by, the elegantly radiant moon was covered by a layer of thin clouds, quietly occupying the center of the dark curtain. Scattered with fine clouds, covering a few stars. The magic stone lamps on both sides of the street were lit up, and entertainment places such as taverns and hotels were noisy. The city that never sleeps reveals its corner. North District, Twilight Pavilion. Loki sat in a huge council room at the top of the tower. Usually, the high-level members of the family will chat or hold meetings here. Because he was on the expedition, Loki was alone at this time. She squinted her eyes and looked out the window in the direction of the Tower of Babel. The kid hasn't come back at this time. Did something happen? As for throwing his life there, Loki didn't even think about it. That is trust and confidence in your own children. Isn't there some kind of abnormal situation on the first day? That would be too bad luck. If you count the time, the children from the expedition should come back, right? Even gods cannot see through the unknown. But Loki guessed right this time. The unlucky Flan hit the jackpot for the first time exploring the dungeon, and it was the kind that killed people. Dungeon is in the passage from the 5th floor to the 6th floor. Through the faint phosphorescence from the wall, an adventurer and a monster can be seen engaged in a bloody battle. This fight was not at all like a battle between an adventurer and a monster, but rather like a duel between gladiators in an ancient arena. The collision of blood and blood, fist and claw, muscle and muscle is so primitive and brutal, but it can also arouse people's deepest desire. Even Flan, who is afraid of death, never imagined that one day he would show such wildness. Ah! Boom, boom, boom. Punch, punch, and punch. The fist that exposed the bones hit the monster's head hard, and the monster was dizzy and fell into a state of stiffness. Seize the opportunity, even if he is caught in a hysterical death fight, he still maintains the last trace of rationality. Yanlei covered again, he hugged the enemy's fangs violently, and snapped off the enemy's weapon with a roar that seemed inhuman. Oh and an. The pain of a broken tooth was like 10 fingers connected to a heart, and the violent saber-toothed tiger knocked the little human into the air. Call out. With a bang, Flan's body hung on the wall. The terrifying impact made his brain dizzy, and blood spurted from his mouth. Finally, it slowly slipped to the ground. Hiss ribs, cough 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 cough. I don't know how many ribs are broken, hiss. He was vomiting blood while talking, but he still smiled when he saw the enemy's fangs broken by himself. Now, what are you going to kill me with? Facing the blood-stained enemy, the saber-toothed tiger had an inexplicable emotion brewing in his heart. It was fear. This human being is different from other smashes. Must kill this human. Only this belief is absolute. Then it showed a fierce light again. Pooh. He spat out the blood foam in his mouth, wiped away the bloody water that blocked his vision with the back of his hand, and stared wearily at the enemy who was covered in wounds and bleeding all over his body. Because the weapon shattered, the balance was balanced again. No, it should be said to be tilted towards the monster. If he hadn't entered the night, the trigger of the skill doubled his mental power, which greatly increased the endurance and power of magic. At this time, he would have been a corpse. His whole body equipment was tattered, only a few pieces of rags were left hanging casually from his jacket, most of his parts were covered with wounds full of deep visible bones, white bones were exposed from his fists, dripping blood continuously. The only thing left intact was the left arm. The blonde hair is no longer dazzling, it is gray and covered with blood, there are enemies, and there are also their own. The handsome and angular face was also scratched with many cuts, bruised and purple, and one eye was even red and swollen and closed tightly. He was so seriously injured that he was extremely weak, but the only golden pupil that opened was exceptionally bright, and the empty blue halo was shining brightly, which was a sign of surging spiritual power. As an opponent, the enhanced, saber-toothed tiger with LV.2 potential ability also turned blood red. The messy fur was torn, and the bones even pierced through the muscles. They were punched out by some reckless man. 2 fangs were even broken by brute force, and one of the limbs was missing. This led to heavy injuries by humans who used judo tactics. All causes and effects are due to the terrifying magic that played a vital role. It is unimaginable that the enemy's fangs and claws, and even the bones and muscles, were all destroyed by that special destructive attribute during the impact. The terrifying lethality can be swung with fists even without weapons. More than an hour has passed. The prolonged high-intensity battle made it a miracle for Flan to even stand. The enemy's counterattack directly hit him hard, his arms dropped, his trembling legs trembled, let alone fighting. But even though the enemy has suffered severe injuries and is on the verge of death, he still has the power to fight again. This is the horror of monsters. Blood gushed out of the wound non-stop, and Flan, who had lost too much blood, was now seeing things blurred, and even had double images. With trembling lips, he murmured bitterly. That's it, is it over? No, I still want to pursue magic. I still want to taste delicious food. I haven't had a girlfriend yet. In desperation, Flan issued a cry for life. Base. The pitch-black flames danced and began to shrink slowly, along the left arm, and gathered into the left hand little by little. That is, an advanced usage called additional magic. In the desperate situation, in the longing for life, Flan realized its true meaning. Au! Without giving him any time at all, the enemy who pushed the prey to a corner gave him a blow called death. The rapid jump added variables to the charge, and quickly rushed into the crumbling figure. Without claws and fangs, it still has a huge body. Ah! Amidst the hoarse roar, one man and one beast started the final collision. Flame explosion. He raised his left palm with difficulty, and with the final cry, the fireball condensed by pitch-black flames was entangled with crimson lightning, hitting the terrifying monster that jumped up in midair with lightning speed. Boom 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 boom. Black flame and fey erupted, and with deafening roars, terrifying power swept the entire passage, and Flan, who was completely unconscious, was completely blown away. As for the saber-toothed tiger, the moment it was hit by the blow called pyroburst, it was completely reduced to fly ash, and even the magic stone was pulverized into powder. The broken body rolled and hit the rock wall, and fell from midair. Lying on the ground, the blurred vision gradually plunged into darkness. Only the ears, at the end of losing consciousness, heard a series of exclamations. The underground labyrinth, the 6th floor. Ah, I can finally go home. I miss the sunshine on the ground. Yeah, this expedition took more than a month, and then it failed. The dragon pot on the 58th floor is really disgusting, and the flying dragon is not good at paying too much. Those who spoke were a pair of brown-skinned Amazon girls. Except for their clothes, their appearances were almost identical. It's a bunch of twins. Okay, Tiona, don't complain. The failure of this expedition is my responsibility, and I didn't expect the pressure to be so great. Finn is right. I have had this exploration experience. Go back and summarize it. There will be a high possibility of rearranging the tactical strategy next time. Hearing what the leader, Finn, and the green-haired fairy Riveria, the deputy leader, said, the other team members didn't say anything. By the way, you guys, I hope you don't push the front line too far next time. You cadres are also duty-bound to fail this time. You must reflect on yourself when you go back. The relatively stalwart Sister Amazon twisted her face in a nympho when the blonde head of the little human race said so. Leader I know did you hear me, you dead wolf? Ah. Why do you involve me? Don't you rush out too? Don't care about me. Nani. It's not like you rushed so fast that you. Okay, don't disturb the two of you. By the way, did you hear anything? Interrupting the quarrel between the two was a majestic dwarf named Grace Landrock, a great dwarf warrior. Ah. Sound. Who else is there in the dungeon at this time? The werewolf Bert, with a rather displeased tone, moved his wolf ears on his head to identify them carefully. TCH, what kind of weak person, little coffee, is being chased by monsters and running all over the ground? Weak people should not come to the dungeon. It's really annoying. Hearing Bert's words, Finn, Riveria, and Grace looked at each other. An adventurer is in distress, hurry up and have a look. As soon as his words fell, the golden hair flashed by, and the person rushed out. We also chase. Climbing up the steps on the regular floor and passing through the narrow passage, the field of vision suddenly widens. Here, a deathmatch of disparity in strength has come to an end. The group of people who rushed over were all shocked by the battle in front of them. It was a figure completely stained red with blood, fighting a saber-toothed tiger that was obviously abnormal at first glance. It happened that the two sides sent out the final blow. A strange atmosphere permeated the team, and no one spoke. It wasn't until the blonde female swordsman walked up to the unconscious adventurer and knelt down on one knee that everyone came back to their senses. Hey, the intensity just now, are you sure this is the 5th floor? The young werewolf Bert's expression twisted and his eyes widened, he couldn't believe it. Finn, the blonde leader of the little humans, bit his thumb and watched the battlefield back and forth. This kind of destructive power, not only me, but you can also see it is definitely not something that LV.1 can cause, and even ordinary LV.2 is absolutely impossible. The green-haired fairy Riveria nodded. This kind of destructive power undoubtedly belongs to LV.2, and that black flame. The point is, that young man. Finn smiled. Ah, the adventurers who appeared on the 5th floor must have experienced an adventure, from the extent of the damage at the scene. Hearing this conclusion, everyone, including Bert the werewolf with a bad personality, looked at each other in blank dismay. Because this represents a conclusion, that young man. With LV.1, you killed the LV.2 of the abnormal situation, enhanced species. Finn, this joke is not funny at all. Even ice. Okay, Bert. The werewolf Bert had his hands in his pockets, and his gray tail was wagging non-stop, which indicated that his heart was also not at peace. Wow, I didn't know this little brother belonged to that family, he must be famous now. Tiona, an innocent girl, walked towards the adventurer with her hands behind her back in high spirits. At this time, beside the unconscious Flan, the beautiful girl swordsman with blonde hair and golden eyes knelt on one knee beside him, with a dazed face, not knowing what to do. Ace, leave it to me. Sang, the mother of the fairy royal family, nodded softly to Ice, and then greeted the fairy girl with a single ponytail in Yamabuki who had been in a daze behind her. Rafia, bring the advanced restoration potion. This child has broken countless bones, and shed so much blood, it is already a miracle to be able to survive and defeat the enemy. Everyone gathered around and carefully examined the wounds on his body. Finn glanced at Flan's hands and frowned slightly. It's not quite right. Look at his hands. The bones of his hands are exposed, obviously worn away by some kind of force. As far as I know, the saber-toothed tiger is not in this attack mode. The blonde female swordsman's doll-like expression moved. He is attacking the monster with his fist. The werewolf's mouth twisted and he smiled. Ah, Ace, this cold joke is not funny at all. You don't use weapons and fists or something. Bert, don't tell me you can't see. Finn interrupted the unwilling werewolf youth. Grace carried a huge axe and stroked his beard with one hand, turned to look at the battlefield, and the shattered dagger in the corner. Here, the broken weapon is over there. Everyone also saw the inferior product with only the hilt left. Tiona tilted her head and glanced, blinking. Short sword. It's cheap at first glance. What weapons do you think newcomers can use? That's right. Fool. But, isn't it common sense to have a spare weapon? The sister delivered the fatal blow. This question made everyone choke. As an adventurer, it is not common sense to have a spare weapon, what a ghost. Well, maybe, because you can't afford it. This is the only option. The sister Tion ended this weird question straightforwardly. Even Finn smiled wryly this time. This is really. The big dwarf warrior laughed loudly. Ha 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 ha, that is to say, the LV.1 novice killed the LV.2 enhanced species with his bare hands. Ha 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 ha, it's so interesting. I've never heard of such a newcomer before. This how is it possible? The goblin girl of Yamabuki, Lefia's eyes widened, she shook her head desperately and couldn't believe it, the expression on her little face collapsed. For goblins, jumping over steps to kill enemies with bare hands is almost like a fairy tale. Especially for a new adventurer who can't be new, after all, he doesn't even have a spare weapon. The dazed Icy looked at the seriously injured and unconscious young adventurer, and murmured. So strong. She spoke out the feelings of the people present. The body sprinkled with advanced recovery medicine, slowly healed, but the broken bones and internal organs could not be repaired in a short while, even if a bottle of panacea, with 500,000 mana was used. Whether it's physical strength or mental strength, the double overdrawn Flawn's body has become tattered, which is a trauma from the inside out. Even if an adventurer has divine grace, he may have to lie in bed for several days. What to do, Finn? Riveria asked the little people while casting healing magic. Well, I don't know which family he belongs to, so we can't keep him here, right? And we don't know each other. We've reached this point. Let's use the unlocking medicine to see which family he belongs to. We can contact you when we return to the ground. His family members came to pick him up. Unlocking the medicine. Although it's a bit over the top, it's the only way to do it. Raoul. I know the leader. As the core figure of the second echelon of the family, Raoul has a level of LV.4, and has been a supporter of the first echelon all year round. He took out the unlocking medicine from his backpack, and dropped a drop on his back under the gaze of everyone. Immediately afterwards, the favor that belonged to the family emerged. It was the family pattern they were familiar with, and it broke into their field of vision in an instant. This time, everyone, including the big three, was completely stunned. Nani? Open? What kind of international joke? Bert the werewolf felt like he'd hit the funniest joke ever. It's. The fairy girl Rafia seemed to have seen a ghost, her lips were trembling and she couldn't speak a complete sentence. The Amazon sisters were just as dumbfounded. Even Finn, Riveria, and Grace of the big three were shocked. Even the emotionless blonde girl known as the doll princess had her golden eyes widened, and her expressionless mask was smashed to pieces. I didn't expect it to be our family, but I don't remember any of the family. Finn put away his astonished expression, smiled and said to Raoul. If you think about it, none of us have seen him, and he haunts the 5th floor, without a backup weapon. It means that he is a newcomer with no experience or money, and the time to become an adventurer is during our expedition. To sum it up, it's a new partner. Then Icy, who was dumbfounded, became wiser at this time. Then, how did he become so strong in such a short time? Blind student, you discovered Wadian. Big 3. Amazon sisters. Bert, Raoul and Ancheti. Everyone expressed their incomprehension to this blow to the soul, and everyone's expressions were distorted, which was extremely funny. Not getting the answer she wanted, Icy tilted her head blankly and looked at them with a blank expression. Okay, so cute. Single quote. So cute. So cute. This is the inner activity of the other members. However, no one could answer Icy's question. That, or look at his. Just when Raoul came up with a bad idea, Riveria firmly raised her hand to stop what he wanted to say next. Since he is a companion of the family, it is better for us to ask in person, and he will tell us if he is willing. That's right. Since we are companions. Finn held his spear upright and decided with a smile. Let's go home. By the way, let's ask Loki about this new partner. With a group of powerful monsters, returning to the ground is actually no more troublesome than eating and drinking. Smoothly, everyone crossed the distance of the last 5 floors and came to the ground. The ground at this time is a black veil dotted with stars. In the black curtain, Olili stubbornly opened a corner to show herself. Breath, it's the smell of the ground, ah. O'Leary, we're back. Okay, Tiona, hurry home. I'm super curious now. Yes. As they spoke, the two sisters glanced back at the young man who was carried by Raoul. Because it was late at night, the North District, which was not a busy area, had become extremely quiet. A group of people crossed the street, walked up the path, and finally saw the gate of the Twilight Pavilion. We're back. Yes, the partners from the expedition have returned. Please let me know, thank you. Okay. Whoa. In the originally quiet, Twilight Pavilion, all the magic stone lamps in the courtyard were lit up in the next moment, the corridor was brightly lit, and figures in pajamas appeared one by one. Immediately afterwards, a certain god opened his arms at a speed of more than 300 per hour and killed him. Finally back, squeak. As a result, Loki seemed to have seen something, and came to a sudden stop. Hey! It's strange that Loki didn't throw Lefia down this time. Yes, it's so strange. Everyone looked at their main god with strange eyes, not knowing what happened. Tisk, this kid can't really be so unlucky, can he? Loki opened his divine eyes, the distorted face that wanted to laugh but couldn't make people feel uncomfortable. You picked him up in the dungeon. Looking at a young man who was seriously injured and unconscious, Loki narrowed his eyes again. Finn shrugged and nodded. On the 5th floor. Can the monsters on the 5th floor seriously injure him? Tisk, is it really an abnormal situation? Loki, do you know something? You don't want to just say it here, do you? Go home first. It is good. The expedition team returned, and even though it was late at night, the Twilight Pavilion was still extremely lively. A certain unlucky guy was sent back to his room by everyone, and he was treated perfectly. After all, after the expedition was over, the team didn't have any supplies, which was why they were anxious to return to the ground. Looking at the young man who fell into a deep sleep, everyone formed a circle in this simple house, staring at Loki with super curious eyes, waiting for her explanation. Well, it's nothing. This kid is Olali who came 7 days ago, a pure newcomer. He doesn't even have that kind of favor, and then I don't know how to know about our family, so I'm going to join. I was caught by him after wandering outside. That's right, today is the first time this kid has explored the dungeon, and he encountered this kind of thing. It's just unlucky. Mentioning this matter again, Loki didn't know what expression to use. She knew how strong this kid was, but she overturned on the 5th floor. Is there anything more nonsense than this? What the hell happened, Finn? Tell us the details. Everyone looked at me, I looked at you, and then they all looked at Finn. Well, I'll tell. Meeting Loki's gaze, Finn explained the situation in detail. That's about it. The battle was just over when we arrived. The red-haired goddess looked at the unfortunate young man with pity. Let's go out, although it's impossible to wake him up here. Finally, everyone retreated from Flawn's room one after another. Only Ace was left, staring at Flawn blankly, hesitating to speak. Okay, Ace, are you curious about how he became stronger so quickly? Ask him when he wakes up and want to ask. Okay. Everyone knows Isis' obsession with improving her strength. Speaking of which, it has been 2 years since she reached LV.5, and she has reached the bottleneck. The attribute value that can be increased by each expedition is even in single digits. For her who has a sad wish, how can such a rapid increase in strength not stimulate her? With the sound of the door closing, the room darkened again. Only the ups and downs of the relatively gentle breathing sound remained. The sun rises in the east, and the sun appears from the eastern sky again, and a new day comes. A night's rest allowed people to wash away their exhaustion and start a day's work in good spirits again. Headquarters of the Loki family, Twilight Pavilion. Everyone began to deal with the aftermath of the end of the expedition. Submit, adventurer entrustment, sell the precious materials collected in deep, replenish props, maintain weapons and equipment, even go to the union to report relevant information, etc. The busy members each had their own work, and left the station after having breakfast in the cafeteria hall. Miss IC, do you have any important arrangements today? During the meal, the young girl Rifia blushed, twisted her body a little shyly and asked about the object of her dreams. Going to maintain the weapon. Okay. Then, can you let me accompany you? Does Lefia's wand also need to be repaired? I remember changing the magic stone. After taking a bite of the bread, Amazon's sister Diona issued another fatal torture. No, it's not. I just. Okay, stop bullying Rafia, she just wants to be with Ice. That's it. It was my elder sister who helped Rafia tell her purpose directly. No problem. Thank you, Miss Ace. Tiona blinked. I don't know if that little brother is awake. Shall we go and see? Yeah, I'm curious about how fast his strength has improved. Ace, are you going? Okay. Ace's answer was decisive and firm. Since Miss Icy wants to go, then I. The four girls decided so. On the other side, there is a meeting room lobby commonly used by high-level executives. Finn, Riveria, Grace, and Rocky chatted about this expedition while drinking tea. Well, I don't think it's that easy. If it doesn't work this time, let's do it next time. After this expedition, whether it's experience or strength, I believe that the partners have become much stronger, and the chances of the next attack will be greatly improved. Cut. It's time to do it again. By the way, is that child awake? Finn asks Riveria about Flan. There is no news yet, but you should wake up after calculating the time. Speaking of this, Riveria also looked curious. The information about him waking up, I believe Icy and the others should not be able to sit still. The old man is also very curious about how that kid became stronger so quickly, ha ha ha. Loki, can't you tell me? Loki got a bottle of wine from somewhere, poured some ice cubes and drank it there. Well, we parents can't talk nonsense if he doesn't want to say it. Considering his character, we think he will tell you. Blinking, Loki showed a nasty smile. Every time you show such an expression, it's not a good thing. Oh, Finn, don't say it. Suddenly, a scream that tore through the sky interrupted the conversation of several people. Ah, my magic stone. That scream was really sad for those who heard it, and tears for those who heard it. Several people looked at each other, and then Finn blinked. Do you want to go and see? Let's go. After all, he is a new member of the family, so we need to meet up anyway. Hey. Loki smiled. Fourth floor, Flan's room near the end. At this moment, including the head, the mentality of someone wrapped in bandages all over his body collapsed. Tired and exhausted, he even lost half of his hard-earned harvest, was blown up and thrown in the dungeon, and even lost 1600 mana worth of jungle dagger. By the way, there are 2 fried potato balls worth 60 farleys. With only 30 farley left on his body, Flan's life is full of gloom, and his whole body has turned into black and white. This is the first impression of Ace, Tiona, and Rafia, who opened the door when they saw Flan Algon. Oh, what's wrong with him? A smell of despair. He screamed just now, as if he mentioned some magic stone. Rafia blinked, making sure she heard correctly. PFF'd. The sisters laughed out loud on the spot. Ice is still like a puppet, with her cute tilted head at a loss. Of course, Flan also noticed a few people. Hello, newcomer. I'm Diona Sillet, you can call me Diona. This is my sister, Dion, this is Rafia, and this is Ice. Faced with the little angel's initiative to introduce, Flan naturally didn't have to pretend not to know him. Flan Algon, just joined the familia, just call me Flan. That, Flan. Tell me the reason why you can get stronger so quickly, please. The boldness of the Amazon girl was directly attached to Flan's arm, holding him and smilingly asking. Flan blinked, looked into curious eyes, and then it dawned on him. Just a week after joining the familia, he killed the LV.2 enhanced species. I'm not curious how it is possible. And they all belong to the same family, so it's okay to say it. Actually, it's nothing, it's a skill. Ace stared at him cutely, making Flan feel stressed. Skill. Seeing doubts on the faces of several girls, Flan nodded. Ah, My skills allow me to accelerate the growth of my ability value, so it's not a big deal. But he knows, who can get LV.5 in Olali, which one is not open. What is the more serious the injury, the stronger it is, what is the special attack on monsters, and it is quite idealistic, the higher the hatred value, the greater the damage increase, are you afraid? Even Flan, who has 3 terrifying skills, dare not say that he can catch up with Icy in terms of PvE output, of course, temporarily. As for those LV.6, LV.7, I can only say hee hee. These days, I can't get along without cheating, so I have nothing to hide about my 3 late-stage growth skills, Flan. Isn't it just to grow up faster? Isn't it just a higher increase? Isn't it just the ability to learn magic infinitely? Doesn't Lefia have it too? Fairies are a magical race. What is the difference between being able to learn the magic of all fairies and being able to learn the magic of all races? No, what's the big deal? However, Tion, the Amazon, raised his voice, and his mentality collapsed at that moment. Do you know how much we have paid so far? The terrifying black air permeated the bedroom, and Flan shrunk directly into the bed in fright. Ha ha ha, it's quite lively. Looks like you've woken up, Flan boy. Just in time, the big 3 of the Familia and Loki walked in, and the senior dwarf Grace laughed and joked. From him, the generosity of a dwarf is fully reflected. Ah, I haven't had time to thank you for picking me up. Otherwise, I would have evaporated by now, right? Flan laughed wryly at himself. Well, they are all partners of the same family, and even if they are not from the same family, isn't it the rule for adventurers to rescue their colleagues? Even so, I still want to thank everyone. Okay, your injuries are still serious, so don't move around. Let me see how the recovery is going. The green-haired goblin royal lifted Flan's shoulders, pushed him back, and carefully inspected the wound under the bandages. Such a move made Flan's heart warm. Is it family? Loki leaned against the wall, folded his arms and teased him. It's obviously your first time going to the dungeon, kid. We don't even know what to say. At this time, the leader of the little human race pushed aside the crowd and walked forward alone, looking at him with eyes full of admiration. A newcomer adventurer has rare courage. We really found a treasure. Of course, as the head of the family, although it is a belated congratulations, you are still welcome to join the Loki family. Thank you. And don't praise me like that, I'm a bit shy. To be straightforward, I'm quite afraid of death. If I don't kill the monster, I will die. Well, it's the cry of the weak. The cry of the weak. This analogy is good, I accept it. However, not everyone can make the cry of the weak to the strong. It takes courage. This is an irrefutable fact. Originally, Flan wanted to be humble, but the leader said that you have it, understand. Do you think what the leader said is wrong, huh? Black miasma began to emerge from Tion's body at some point, and the long hair in the shawl floated up like Medusa's snake hair. She stared fiercely at Flan, and her scalp felt numb in an instant. Sick. Too frightening. The dog's head saves his life. Okay, I'm recovering well. Because I used the panacea, all the superficial injuries have healed, and the bone needs to wait another 2 days. It can be seen from this that the endurance of an adventurer with ability values is fully reflected in Flan. Tisk, how much durability do you have? After suffering that kind of injury, everyone except the dwarves must be finished. Besides, I can also wrestle with monsters that are stronger than me. I don't even know what to say. Rifia also looked shocked. But I heard that you are a wizard. Flan winked at her and smiled. In terms of durability, it should be D, and there is no rule that mages cannot directly fight monsters. Finn pinched his chin and analyzed. LV.1 kills the enhanced species of LV.2 with bare hands. It is impossible for you to only have D after experiencing this adventure. This time it should improve a lot, and the advanced experience value is enough to upgrade. He said he was quite envious. Because at the level of the big 3, it is quite difficult to increase the attribute value a little bit, which is a bit embarrassing. Okay, now that you're awake, you can go your own way. I'll help him update his ability value first, and you're looking forward to it, right? It's not that I'm looking forward to it, it's true that I'm a little curious. Everyone blinked, and then consciously exited the room. Icy was the last one to leave again, still hesitating to speak. Skills. Flan noticed the confusion in the girl's eyes, wanted to say something but didn't know the topic, and sighed inwardly. Tisk, boy. You don't want to comfort Sitten, do you? Can you see that too? We are gods, we haven't seen anything. With that, she came to Flan's back and started updating his stats. Ace Wallenstein, Sword Princess. That's right, our treasure. LV.5. You're still far from that height. PFF'd. Before he could finish his sentence, Loki spewed out a mouthful of wine, and fell to the ground. Nani. Boom. The room was violently pushed away, and then all those people rushed in, even the big three were behind. Flan twitched, rolling his eyes wildly. He, isn't this a curiosity? You don't mind, Flan Chan tilde. What kind of sauce? You can watch it if you want. Anyway, I'm a rookie at LV.1. At this moment, Loki rubbed his waist and gasped for air, got up from the ground. What the hell is your attribute, what have you done? Well, can you print out the ability value for me to see? I'm blinded by what you say. It's really. Loki was speechless, then rubbed the ability value with trembling hands, and handed it to him. Holding his second term report card, Flan looked over. Of course, beside his head, there were several other heads, and even Icy was directly attached to his face. You can smell the girl's unique fragrance in your breath, which is a bit exciting for a young man who has never had a girlfriend. But this feeling was instantly forgotten by the grades on the report card. Name: Flan Algon. Level: LV.1. Ability value: Strength. D501 right pointing arrow SS 1001 Durability. D501 right pointing arrow SS 1001 Delicacy. D501 right pointing arrow SS 1001 Agility. D501 right pointing arrow SS 1001 Magic. D501 right pointing arrow SS 1001. Development ability. Magic. Searcher. Enchantment. Destruction property. Skill. Reader. Strengthen mental power. Doubles the effect in the dark. Immunity to mental pollution. Polymath. You can choose 2 development abilities each time. Learn magic without being restricted by the magic slot. When using magic swords and magic tools, the power is greatly increased. Double magic power. Range. Infinite super magic. Strengthen the spirit through the accumulation of knowledge. Strengthen magic power through knowledge accumulation. Magic synchronously increases all attributes. Current accumulation. 2.13%. Everyone. The room was as quiet as an abyss, only the sound of gradually rapid breathing remained. This state of space being frozen lasted for a full minute before it was broken by Tiona. Cheat. Lie. SS or something. In this way, everyone came back to their senses, looked at Flan with complicated eyes, and wanted to say something, but they didn't know what words to use to express their complicated emotions. They wouldn't be so shocked if they were talking about the full ability value S. After all, Olali is not without precedent, and the violent man is a good example. But beyond the limit, reaching the unheard of thing like SS, even the big three and Rocky can't be calm. Finn came back to his senses with a stern warning expression. That's the end of this matter, only the people in this room know. Got it. Everyone knew how serious the situation was, and nodded solemnly together. But, when Flan grows up, our family will have another pillar, ha 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 ha. Grace stroked his beard and laughed. That's right, this skill, I really don't know how you killed the enhanced species with your bare hands. You are obviously a mage. Then, in terms of magic, you and Lefia will learn from me, is it okay? Riveria looked into Flan's eyes and made a decision directly. No problem. It is my honor to have you teach me personally. This is the strongest wizard in the city, and the princess of the fairy royal family. That stomach full of ink was unfathomably deep, which was exactly what he was looking forward to. Okay, don't forget the dinner to celebrate the return of the expedition tonight. Oh, I forgot if I didn't tell Loki, you have to have a good meal, ha 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 ha. Unlucky Flan can only lie here, he. Here, after a series of events, he was officially recognized by everyone. He, Flan Algon, is no longer alone in this cold and huge city surrounded by walls. You rest well, and we will take our leave. Okay, bye, everyone. And, can that one, get me a book, please? Please. Any book is fine. Everyone was taken aback, then nodded. They all remembered Flan's crazy skill set. Rivria rolled her eyes at Rafia. Rafia, you have to work hard. I will work hard. The fairy girl was really stimulated. The two are both guards and mages. It would be a lie to say that there is no pressure. After leaving the room, the task of helping Flan get the book has been handed over to Rafia. All go as well. Suddenly, Icy, who had been silent all this time, took the initiative to stand up. The three giants looked at each other, as if they understood something. They left without speaking with Loki. Miss Icy, are you not reconciled? It's not easy for such an outlier to appear. Well, there must be a way to quickly become stronger. Sitting on the head of the bed, Flan quietly looked out the window. Large tracts of vegetation cover the park, which makes people feel refreshed. Speaking of which, this room is on the 4th floor of the Twilight Pavilion, and he chose the corner room. This has something to do with his quiet personality. The south-facing room happened to be able to see the whole panorama of Olili full of rich and fantastic colors, which made him feel good. Boom boom boom. Mr. Flan, I'm coming in. Knocking on the door, Rafia opened the door with a little nervous holding the book and walked in. This is the book you want, and I don't know what type you like, so I picked one for you according to my preference. I'm sorry, Lefia. After thanking him, he took the hardcover booklet, and saw that it said, Interpretation and Explanation of Parallel Singing Skills, author name, Rivria Rios Alf. Flan's eyes lit up, and he said with a smile. Great, just what I need most. Really? That's right, Mr. Flan should also be new to magic techniques. Well, after all, I haven't become an adventurer for a few days, let alone a mage like you who has received formal education from the school district. To put it bluntly, I was born in Yeluzi. The experience of his previous life has proved that Yeluzi has a high probability of being less competitive in basic theory than people with a professional background. Especially magic, which involves mysterious knowledge, is extremely precious. If you didn't join the Loki Familia, it would be really difficult to learn about magic. No, Mr. Flan is really good. LV.1 defeated LV.2 with bare hands. But Rafia was a little frustrated. Seeing her like this, Flan smiled and shook his head. No matter how high the level is, she is still a 14-year-old girl after all. Rafia, as far as I know, you are a pure defender mage. The task should be to chant powerful magic and use powerful cannonballs to decide the outcome, so why are you depressed? Yeah, Rafia is amazing. With golden shawls and long hair, golden eyes, and a beautiful face comparable to a goddess, she said heart-warming words with no expression on her face. Ace. Well, Ace Wallenstein. Flan looked at the blank and emotionless girl, and he was dumbfounded. Ms. I.C., say I'm amazing or something. Then, the fairy girl kept twisting her body there, steam was still rising from her head. Hey, what are you shy about? Lily Fairy. It's true, Rafia is amazing. Miss Ace. Ahem. Flan couldn't stand it anymore, why it was so difficult for the two to talk. Well, Icy should be looking for me for something, right? The girl nodded, staring at herself with eyes that seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. I want to know how to become strong as fast as you. Really God asked. The dignified LV.5 sword girl asked the LV.1 rookie how to become stronger. How do you say this? After reading his report card, Flan had some clues as to why he could improve so many attributes without studying. Don't stand up, the room is a bit rough, there is only one chair, if you don't mind, just sit here. He pointed to the edge of the bed and motioned for the two to sit down. Okay. Seeing IC sit down without hesitation, the fairy girl quickly sat down next to her. Turning his head and looking out the window, breathing in the fragrance of the two girls, Flan stroked his thoughts and tried to speak. My skills, you have also seen it. Okay. The two girls nodded obediently. That's much easier to say, it's not a complicated thing at all. Turning to the girls, Flan smiled. Infinite super magic allows me to use the accumulated knowledge to improve the attribute value. So I stayed in the library and started experimenting with my skills. I read them one by one, and finally I found. Even this fairy tale can improve my attribute value. What? Speaking of this, Rifia covered her mouth and exclaimed, and Icy opened her eyes wide in shock. The unbelievable facts were just placed in front of them. Of course, the acquisition of knowledge is not endless. It seems that the library in the resident will be read sooner or later, and the judgment of my skills on knowledge is also simple and clear, that is the unknown. Finally got to the point. Unknown. Jane, it's almost like a god. It is conceivable that this kind of thing shocked Lefia, and the girl was a little dazed. Flan nodded, agreeing with her. Only unknown knowledge can increase the attribute value, and the increased strength between knowledge and knowledge is also very different. The more powerful the knowledge, the greater the increase, just like magic knowledge. He patted the book in his hand that recorded magical knowledge, and let out a breath. That's why I got stronger so fast. Ice and Rafia understood. Flan's power comes from knowledge, quite pure. But, so many attributes increase in one day, Mr. Flan should not be able to explore the dungeon. Rafia, skills, strategies, and experience are all knowledge. Ace said decisively. Flan smiled. Ice is right, Rafia. This is why I can become so much stronger in one day. When I go to the dungeon for the second time, maybe the increase will not be so much. After all, the knowledge about the basic part has been absorbed. Okay, that's amazing. I see, thank you for answering the question for us. After all, the matter involving my own secret. Icy got the answer she wanted, but disappointment was revealed deep in her eyes. It's nothing, they are all partners of the same family. It is better for everyone to know the basics. Flan could clearly see the change of the girl's mentality, but he didn't know how to comfort her. Perhaps this was the shortcoming of never being in love. Well, maybe I can help you when I get to LV.2. Icy tilted her head blankly, her lips became the shape of, watching him quietly waiting for the next sentence. Okay, so cute. Flan admitted that he was being teased. Then, realizing that he was like a goose, he coughed twice to ease the embarrassment. If you use magic tools to assist, there will be no problem. As far as I know, the higher the LV, the harder it is to upgrade. What is it? When she spoke, Icy's expression was a little anxious, and even her upper body was directly attached to Flan's body, and her hands were tightly grasping his shoulders. This. The girl who lacked emotion didn't feel anything about this unexpected attack, but how could Flan bear it? The face is red. That Miss Ace. Mr. Flan is still hurt. Sorry. The girl opened a little distance, but still stuck to his body, he was slightly relieved. Ahem, it's the bottleneck of the device. The bottleneck or the limit, with the right means, can increase the chance of breaking through. As far as I know, after the average adventurer's ability value reaches D, which is 500 points, their growth rate will slow down significantly. As he spoke, he took out a pen and paper from the side, and drew a curved line on it. At this time, we have entered the bottleneck period. Ice and Rafia are just like students, listening to Flan's theory carefully. It is quite difficult to increase the ability value to the S segment, which is more than 900 points. Only a few people can achieve it by virtue of their racial advantages. Such as Finn, such as Grace, such as Riveria, and of course there are freaks like Oda. Then the question is, what causes the bottleneck period? What is it? It's the enemy's strength and your own talent as experience. Thanks for watching.